The Pirate Journey of Arceus. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 326, An unexpected discovery in the transaction. The arms trade in Wano country has not been abandoned. Most of this business relies on the underground black market in the New World. The underground industry in the New World has long been divided up. No one can join in, except the beasts of the past. There are specialized merchants for warehousing and shipping. All the beasts need to do is to ship. As the business expands, they earn more after giving up part of the profits to the middlemen. However, they will also let the beasts pirates deliver goods separately to some new customers, such as some people in the first half of the Grand Line. As the influence of the Great Pirate Era becomes more and more intense, the dependence of various countries, forces, and pirate groups on weapons is gradually increasing. As long as some iron ore powder is added to the sword, the weapon can be sharper. Adding some iron ore powder to the manufactured barrel can also increase the service life and durability, so the weapons of the beasts pirates have always occupied a high-end share of the weapons market. Standard weapons from the navy and weapons produced by the beasts have always been the most popular types. This trip Manderfish is to meet their new customers. The Kingdom of Sakail, a country on the island of Krakana in the first half of the Grand Line, is not a member of the Alliance. At this time, there is a war on the island, and the Kingdom Army and the Rebel Army are fighting. The war started not long ago, and the cause was the issue of taxation. 2 years ago, Sakavi ascended the throne. Although he was a royal family, he was not satisfied. He wanted to join the world government, and then become a member of the country, and finally become a world noble. And a rigid requirement for joining the world government is the additional heavenly gold. In order to collect the heavenly gold, he began to start with taxes. In a year, the Kingdom of Sakail has added various bizarre taxes. However, this is far from enough, not even enough money to bribe others. There are so many countries in the world. If you want to join the world government, you can't do it without someone to recommend you. And they won't help people to recommend for no reason, so they have to use Bailey to open the way. In this case, he chose to continue to increase taxes. The original taxes made their lives difficult, but at least they could survive, so no one chose to become a rebel. But in this way, he broke through the limit of the people's tolerance. After a family was arrested for not being able to pay taxes, the conflict finally broke out. The first riot broke out in the kingdom. The original purpose was just to ask him to cancel the tax, but a genius minister gave him an extremely outrageous suggestion. The civilians could still resist, which meant that the tax was not high enough. As long as the tax continued to be increased, they would have no power to resist. So in this case, the parade team became a rebel army. Anyway, they had to impose taxes, so they simply pooled money to buy weapons from passing merchant ships. In this era of great pirates, weapons were hard currency with a higher value than gold. 8 out of 10 merchant ships would carry weapons. In this way, Zakaya's rebellion broke out completely. One side had more people, and the other side had better equipment and quality. Zakaya eventually fell into this stalemate. As time went on, both sides were thinking about how to deal with each other, and the rebels began to look for more sophisticated weapons. In the end, they successfully found the beasts. But this has little to do with the beasts. They don't check the household registration when they sell weapons. Manfish came to deliver this batch of weapons, just because they offered a high enough price. Brother Manderfish, we are here. I saw it, but the fight is really lively. Where is the consignee? It would be embarrassing if the weapons were delivered to the wrong person. Reputation is still very important. This chaotic situation is not a good thing for them. If they accidentally deliver the weapons to the enemy of the consignee, it will become a joke. They said they are waiting for us at the port on the east coast. Retract the sails and go there at night. Their fight has nothing to do with us. Manderfish did not intend to interfere in their battlefield. The beasts pirates provided mercenary services, but that was an extra charge. If they encountered an enemy team during the day, it would be inappropriate for them to fight or not. Manderfish did not intend to let the other party take advantage of their combat power for free. At night, Manderfish took a few people on a small boat and landed at the eastern port of Krakana Island first. Who is it? As soon as the ship docked, several figures with guns appeared in the shadows. In Manderfish's perception, there were several people hiding in other places who did not show up. The one delivering the weapons, Seth, is one of yours, right? Manderfish mentioned the name of the consignee, but the other party did not relax his vigilance. Instead, he asked for the code Manderfish agreed on. After getting the correct answer, he took them to the base of the rebels. This was their self-proclaimed name, but in the eyes of the kingdom, they were just rebels. Ammunition, swords, we have brought everything you want. Where is the money? Here, but this is only half. The rest can only be given to you after we defeat the other side. We have some funds. Hey, old man, are you kidding me? Do you think we can do credit for this business? Hearing that there was no money, Manderfish's face changed immediately. It is impossible to open a credit for this kind of business. Once it is opened, it will be unstoppable. You don't think I'm easy to talk to, do you? Your funds are your problem. If you can't pay the balance, we won't refund the deposit. If you can pay, you are a customer. If you can't pay, you are fooling them. We lost a lot of supplies in the defeat on the front line, so that has nothing to do with me. I just want to ask, do you have any money? Manderfish punched the table in front of him. He thought that the table would be smashed to pieces with this punch, but a huge recoil force came, and he almost sprained his hand. Wait, brother Manderfish. The subordinate suddenly grabbed Manderfish, which made him a little dissatisfied. What's wrong? Brother Manderfish, look at that thing. It seems to be that, although it was not smashed, the things on the table were also hammered away under Manderfish's strength. The table that fell to the side was in the shape of a stone slab. There is also a very simple test method for the stone slab of the beast's pirates. What can't be broken is real. Manderfish is still a little confident in his strength. Looking at the table without any damage, he found that he had picked up a treasure. Hey, don't be nervous, everyone. This is actually a show. You are new customers, so we can give you a small discount. But this stone is pretty solid. Do you have any objection if we take it away? Sorry, I went out to play and just came back not long ago. I will update twice today. I will make up for it on the 15th of next month. Chapter 327. This is why I don't like paradise. The scene changed a lot. Just now, when Manderfish turned over the table, these rebels took up their weapons one by one. The man named Seth was originally just an ordinary teacher, but the huge taxes caused his family to break up, so he began to lead the parade. After a while, he became the spiritual pillar of these rebels, so they were very nervous when Manderfish turned over the table, but they also knew that the current war situation did not allow them to make any more enemies. But now the situation has become a little funny. Of course, you can take anything you like in this room. Seth didn't understand what happened at all. Although the beasts had a bounty notice for collecting slates, the bounty order of the world government might not be known to everyone, let alone the channels of the beasts now. The slate-like stone was just dug out when they built the wall. They thought it was very flat, so they used it as a tablet top. Then, in the eyes of these rebels, Manderfish made a very strange move. He kept beating the stone. The stone was fine, but there were many more smiles on his face. This strange behavior made the rebels suspect that he was a masochist. Manderfish didn't care about this at all. In the merit selection of the beasts, finding the stone slab alone was a special merit. Now his goal of retirement after becoming a senior cadre was basically set in stone. As for the cost of the batch of arms, let alone half price, as long as there was a stone slab, it didn't matter, even if it was given for free. Manderfish, who didn't want to cause trouble, directly contacted his men to send the remaining arms. However, when Manderfish wanted to leave here, an accident happened. Suddenly, there was a sound of artillery fire in the camp, and shouts of killing were approaching in the distance. The kingdom army of the kingdom of Zakael appeared here. I wish you good luck in military affairs, and I hope to receive your orders again. Carrying the stone slab on his back, Manderfish planned to leave here with his own people. The weapons were taken away at half price. These people obviously couldn't afford the cost of mercenaries. But his desire to leave did not mean that the shells of the kingdom army would avoid them. The Kingdom Army that launched the general attack directly affected Manderfish as well. This did not make Manderfish angry. The cannon was not a sniper rifle and could not accurately strike. But in a sense, a single shot is powerful and can kill the enemy with one strike. As long as it is accurate, it is a large caliber group damage sniper. But the problem is that when Manderfish and his men wanted to leave, they were surrounded by the army of the Kingdom of Sikael. I said, "We are just merchants. Can you please make way? According to the order of His Majesty the King, no one can be let out and all the rebels must be eliminated. We are not rebels. Can't you see this sign? You are making enemies with the beast pirates." Manderfish pointed to the pirate sign on his clothes. He did not want to fight with the other party. After all, as long as he fought, it meant sharing the firepower for the rebels, which was equivalent to letting them get a wave of mercenaries for free. But the answer to him was a bullet. I've never heard of the beasts. I only know that this is the order of King Sikavi. At the moment the gun went off, red scales covered Manderfish's entire body, and the bullet was directly bounced off by the scales. That's why I hate Paradise. It's because there are always guys like you who don't know the depths of the world, which causes so many troubles on the road. In the new world, the three flags of beasts, Big Mom, and Whitebird are more effective deterrents than the flags of the world government and the navy, especially in the second half. The flags of beasts basically allow them to pass unimpeded. The closer you get to the first half of the Grand Line, the greater the chance of encountering trouble. Little ones. Breakthrough. The beast-like Manderfish rushed out first. Although he didn't want the other party to get away with it for free, there was nothing he could do in this situation. As the captain of the scouts, the pirates under his command were also a group of elites. With Manderfish as the vanguard, these kingdom troops could not stop them at all. The news here also reached King Sikavi. He chose to lead the siege himself in order to quickly resolve the rebels. In fact, he was forced to do so. The highest combat power in the Kingdom of Sikael was a person responsible for protecting the royal family. He was a strong man found by King Sikae IV, but he had an agreement with King Sikae IV. In the absence of foreign invaders, he was only responsible for the safety of the royal family members and ignored other situations. In his opinion, this kind of civil strife did not belong to foreign invasion, so he refused to take action. Today, Sikavi had no choice but to come up with such a solution. As long as he went to the front line, this person would have to go to the front line to protect himself. He had already paid the money in advance, and now the other party told him that it was a critical moment and it must be settled before the next world meeting. So he set foot on this dangerous front line. All troops attack. We must capture the rebel safe. Your Majesty. There is news from the garrison on the east coast that a group of people are forcibly breaking through, and our people can't stop them. They didn't know the situation inside the rebel army and thought that Seth wanted to escape by boat, so Sikavi led the guards to chase him, and the royal guard had to follow him. This was the agreement he had made with the fourth. He didn't expect that the fifth was so much worse than the fourth. Senior, don't stick to your rules. Anyway, you still have to take action in the end. Why don't you cooperate with me once? I promise that this kind of thing won't happen again. This is the only time. If you break the contract again, then the agreement between me and your father will be invalid. In order to prevent this person from continuing to commit suicide, he finally agreed to take action once. Otherwise his way of forcing himself to take action would be more dangerous. Boss Manderfish, there are too many of these people. After all, they are the Kingdom Army. Don't underestimate them. Non-member states that can maintain a complete regime in the Grand Line all have their own abilities. Non-member states mean that they have their own military forces to protect their own countries. In the cruel place of the Grand Line, the military forces of non-member states that can maintain a complete regime are generally stronger than those of member states. The Navy will not take care of these non-member states, even if the naval base is close at hand. At this time, Manderfish suddenly sensed a sense of danger, and his arm covered with scales moved to the side to block, but this time there was an extra blood mark on his arm. Looking at the broken scales and the reinforcement that came, Manderfish's expression was a little heavy. A swordsman who can cut steel? Trouble is coming. Sorry, I went out to play and just came back not long ago. 2 updates today. Make up for it on the 15th of next month. Chapter 328. I don't want to retire alone. If it were in the New World, such a thing would require a senior officer to accompany the ship. The banner of the beasts could avoid most troubles, but once troubles were encountered, they would be big troubles. Mandafish's ability was not strong enough in the New World. However, his ability was still sufficient in the first half of the Grand Line. The scales of the Carp King, as hard as steel, made him extremely resistant to the attacks of ordinary swords and guns after he deployed his ability. To hurt him, cutting steel was the most basic requirement, and in the first half of the Grand Line, there were not many swordsmen or opponents of the same level who could cut steel, and it usually took a long time to meet one. I didn't expect to meet such a person in the kingdom of Sakail. After a brief fight with him, Mandafish felt the difference between him and the previous kingdom soldiers. Looking at the strange swordsman and the better equipped team behind him, Mandafish's face became ugly. At the same time, an idea came to Mandafish's mind. Is luck really conserved? Feeling the weight of the stone slab behind him, Mandafish suddenly remembered the metaphysical theory that had been circulating for a long time within the cult of Arceus, the law of conservation of luck. It means that a person's luck is limited. It was definitely a matter of luck that he was able to find this slate, but a series of bad luck followed. It seemed to be similar the last time he gained the ability. This was not the first time that this happened to him. With the support of the royal guards led by King Sakavi, the hole that Mandafish had torn open was quickly blocked, and the people around him continued to gather around. The swordsman made it very difficult for Mandafish to deal with him. He was holding a medieval two-handed sword, and every swing of the sword would cause Mandafish a lot of trouble. As the captain of the scout team, Mandafish was proficient in two-color domineering. At first, he did not use domineering when facing those ordinary bullets, because it was unnecessary. After having this new enemy, he naturally used domineering. With the domineering scales, the armor became harder, and even the opponent's sword blade could not directly break his defense like before. However, the impact of the swinging of the sword still affected him, and he found that the swordsman did not know the color of armament, but had some talent in observation color. Due to his abilities, he also develops in the physical arts style, but his attacks can never hit the opponent. He uses the length of the blade in Mandafish to maintain a safe range. Whenever he wants to advance to the inside of the enemy's body, he will always be predicted. Your observation haki is pretty good. This is the mind of a swordsman, and people with special abilities, like you won't understand. Compared to the power brought by these external objects, the body is the most fundamental power. You ignorant people can always bring a lot of fun to others, but you don't know what you are doing. We are not in the same group as those rebels, but you guys don't know what kind of disaster will be brought about by provoking us. I don't understand. I'm just following the orders of His Majesty the Fifth. Surrender. You can't get out. These are the most elite guards of the kingdom of Zakay. Mandafish ignored him, but ordered his men behind him. Pairman, contact the people staying on the ship. Use the naval guns to open a way, and you lead them back to the ship. Boss Mandafish, what about you? I'll deal with this old guy. You are no match for him. Don't worry, I have a way to get out. The most difficult person among the people in front of him is the swordsman. None of his subordinates are his opponents. If they expose their backs to him, they will be killed one by one. However, if they do not rush out, they will be defeated sooner or later under the siege of the guards. At this time, the people who stayed on the ship became their additional reinforcement. And the so-called firepower support is also the most classic infantry tactic: infantry and artillery coordination. This is a tactic that the beasts practiced after entering Wano country and began to recruit soldiers. In addition to the high-level confrontation between cadres, their battles can also determine the results of some wars, and infantry and artillery coordination has higher requirements for both infantry and artillery. The artillery built by Wano country is far superior to the previous artillery in terms of range and accuracy. Under such circumstances, the tactics of infantry and artillery coordination began to be popularized within the beasts. However, that is a tactic that will only be used in large-scale siege battles. There are only two main guns on Mandafish's ship that can reach this position. In addition to the problem of shooting interval, they have to keep up with the pace of the shells to rush out conveniently. Understood. Pulling out a signal gun from his bosom, Pearman fired 4 signal flares into the sky. That was the signal they had arranged, meaning that they were surrounded, and the artillery fire was needed to clear the way. They could not guarantee that they would always have time to communicate using Dendenmushi, so this method of signal communication was necessary. After seeing the signal flares, the pirates on the ship picked up straw paper and a special telescope and began to calculate the distance. It is also a technical job to shoot accurately with artillery. These elite artillerymen were tortured by the pile of formulas for a long time before they could be considered to be out of the army. Raise a gun position 3 degrees and fire a test shot. In less than a minute, a shell landed in the encirclement of the Kingdom army. Seeing that the position was about the same, Pearman fired another signal. During this time, the swordsman wanted to stop him, but was stopped by Mandafesh. This time the signal represented the correct position, and then the shells began to fall continuously and gradually retreated. Boss Mandafesh, you have to get out alive. After saying that, Pearman used rolling to rush towards the encirclement of the Kingdom army. The identity of the Endower was the reason why Mandafesh asked him to open the way. Hurry up, my goal is to retire smoothly, but not alone. He could choose to retreat first. If it was just him and Pearman, these people really couldn't stop them. Even if they faced the swordsman, they would only get injured. However, in order to allow his men to withdraw as much as possible, he made this choice. Then he rushed towards the man who looked different in his clothes. From the situation that he was surrounded by people, he was the so-called King Psych V. In doing so, he forced the swordsman to have no time to care about others, and then rushed in another direction. The frightened King Psych V was also very angry, and issued an order to hunt down Mandafesh. Finally, on another cliff on the coast, Mandafesh was surrounded here. You have nowhere to retreat. As a person with special abilities, you are hated by the sea. Surrender? Surrender? I advise you to cherish the time you have now. After all, your days are numbered. You have violated the taboos of the 2 adults at the same time. Chapter 329, Destroying the Country. When his men successfully broke through under the cover of artillery fire, he also became the main target of the fire. He made a mistake. He shouldn't have taken Arceus' slate himself. He didn't have time to hand over the slate when Pearman led his men to break through. After that, facing the attack of the swordsman of the Royal Guard, the slate he was carrying unfortunately fell off and was collected by the Kingdom army. To be precise, they had long been interested in the cloth-wrapped slate that Mandafesh was carrying, so they had been staring at it and attacking. They felt that what Mandafesh had been carrying was definitely not simple, and that Sikavi regarded it as a treasure, so Mandafesh, who was besieged here, would say so. There are many taboos in the new world, which can now be roughly summarized as Charlotte Linlin's food, Whitebeard's son, Kaido's business, and Shank's face in the future. These things will attract the revenge of pirates, and Kaido is no exception. Ignoring the symbol of the beast's pirates, and attacking them is something that no big pirate would allow. When Sikavi treated the slate as a treasure, and wanted to take it for himself, he had already touched Arceus' taboo. In Mandafesh's view, Sikavi was already dead, and the death knell had already rung for him. Boy, I think you are crazy, but it doesn't matter. No matter what happens in the future, you will die here today. Senior, please kill him. Stupid, do you think I really ran here because I was desperate? This is the escape route I planned, Mandafesh said, and he jumped off the cliff in the shocked eyes of those people. Not long after, there was a sound of falling into the water. As a person with special abilities, he actually jumped into the sea. Is he committing suicide? The changes in Mandafesh's body have already confirmed his identity as a person with special abilities, so the swordsman didn't understand why he chose to jump into the sea, and Mandafesh didn't show off anything. He just dived into the deep sea and swam towards his ship. The people on the shore didn't know all this. After they thought they had solved the problem here, the royal guards, led by King Sakavi, headed towards the battlefield of the rebels on the other side. At this time, Mandafesh turned into a Magikarp and swam alone on the seabed. After about 20 minutes, he found his ship on the east coast. Brother Mandafesh, you're back. Seeing Mandafesh climbing up from the sea wetly, the people on the boat were very excited. After all, Mandafesh was the one who took the initiative to stay behind to cover them. Well, how are the casualties? 7 injured and 11 dead. Pearman was also injured, but he has been treated. The doctor on the ship reported their casualties to Manderfish. But brother, Lord Arceus's stuff. There was an accident. The old guy is a bit capable, but it doesn't matter. Give me the Den Mushi. These guys will understand what horror is. After picking up the Den Mushi, Manderfish also dialed the contact number in the direction of Onigashima. The Den Mushi only called twice before being picked up. Manderfish, aren't you out delivering goods? What happened so late? Big sister, good news. I found the stone tablet of Lord Arceus. It is the privilege of the big boss to contact Arceus and Kaido directly. Usually, Quinn is responsible for the contact on Ghost Island, but some people of the Arceus cult will contact Shaina directly on some matters, such as this major event related to the stone tablet. After hearing Manderfish's report, Shaina on Ghost Island changed her expression. They had not found any information about the stone tablet for a long time after the transaction with the world government. Is the news true? It's almost the same. The shape is exactly the same, and my attack can't leave any traces. It's just that something unexpected happened at the end. When I broke through, I accidentally let the enemy snatch it away. Go report to Lord Saint Beast yourself. Wait a moment. Shaina got up and came to the place where Arceus lived. He asked someone to build a special attic on the roof of Ghost Island. At this time, Arceus was here. After Shaina came here with Den Mushi, he also heard the news reported by Manderfish. I'm sorry, Lord Arceus. I'm incompetent and couldn't bring the things back directly. It's okay, as long as you are all fine. The fact that the stone tablet was stolen did not make Arceus transfer the conflict to Manderfish. After all, Manderfish's ability is there. With Manderfish's character, it is impossible for him to give up the stone tablet unless he has to, and this is in line with his requirements. It is enough to bring back the news when he is powerless, and don't waste his life. No one can destroy his stone tablet. As long as you can bring the news, you can find it. Lord Arceus. Ahaha, that's right, Manderfish, don't think too much. Since the enemy is too strong, there is nothing you can do. It is enough for you to become stronger in the future. Kaido's voice also came from the side. Kaido never blames his subordinates for failure, and he has some double standards in this regard. If it is someone he likes, then the other party is too strong. If it is just a cooperative relationship, it is because the loser himself is too weak. The words given to the gifter were not enough to attract Kaido's attention, but an old man like Manderfish had already registered with him. Governor Kaido? Why are you here too? What nonsense are you talking about, kid? This is Onigashima, but those guys ignored my flag and interfered with your retreat with the payment, right? That's right. Krakana Island, right. Manderfish, stay there and keep an eye on those people. Even if they want to run, you have to find out their location for me, understand? Understood. After hanging up the phone, Kaido took out the 8 precepts that he never left behind. You can't help it this time, right? After all, those guys violated your taboos. The kingdom of Sakale. This country has no meaning to continue to exist. Yamato, Lunaria, and things related to these may make Arceus angry, but the stone tablet is absolutely the reverse scale. No matter what the reason, those who are greedy for the stone tablet are his enemies. As expected, this kind of thing is your Achilles heel. Let's go. When was the last time we worked together? Was it John or Walt? It really makes me miss it. Somewhere in the new world, Umid was woken up from his sleep, but he still answered the phone. Not many people knew his private number. Hello. Who's calling so late? It's me, Quinn. Umid. Spread the word to those shipping companies. No ship is allowed to approach Krakana Island, otherwise it will be an enemy of the beasts. This is what Kaido said. Chapter 330 Divine Punishment. It would take a while to get to the kingdom of West Kail even if you fly, so Kaido made arrangements in advance, and contacting Umid was one of them. As the shipping king of the New World, although his main business is in the New World, he also has some business in the Grand Line and the Four Seas, especially in the field of shipping smuggling, where he has a lot of say. The kingdom of West Kail is a non-member country, and the official fleet of the world government will not go there. The material exchanges there are all carried out by private shipping organizations. And to be able to do this kind of business on this sea, both the black and white worlds must have some means. Umit is undoubtedly the top one here, and the effect of him passing the message is the best. Quinn's words are like an order, but Umit, who was disturbed in the middle of the night, has no complaints. After all, the status of the beasts is there, and there is no need to offend the other party for such a small matter. At the same time, Quinn made calls one after another, and other territories of the beasts also received notifications. The three ships gathered on different islands and began to meet. This time they did not draw out the elite troops left behind in Wano country, because there was no need. The biggest role of those people was to strengthen the scene. When Arceus and Kaido acted personally, there was no corresponding high-end combat force to stop them, and the number of people was just empty talk. The Beast King started overnight, and their move made many people nervous, such as the Navy. Although the Navy did not have enough control in the New World, there were also many reconnaissance ships. There were reconnaissance ships of the Navy near Whitebeard's territory, near the Totland Sea, and near the territory of the Beast. The Navy must grasp the movements of these big pirates, and these guys are all remnants of rocks. Although there will not be a second person like rocks, if these three guys suddenly go crazy and learn from rocks to find a celestial dragon to attack, the Navy will be in big trouble. It would be fine if those celestial dragons stayed in Mirajoa honestly, but they always like to wander around. It is impossible for the Navy to arrange a general next to every celestial dragon who travels, so monitoring those pirates who are capable of making a big noise has become the best choice. The sudden large-scale personnel transfer in the territory of the Beast Pirates was already a big deal. The Navy that received the news was alerted, but there was no further action, just keeping an eye on it. At dawn the next day, the Beast King had already left the waters of Wano country. Kaido and Arceus suddenly left in the middle of the night, which made Yamato a little uncomfortable. After the alarm rang, there was no sudden attack from Kaido, which did not let Yamato relax her vigilance, because according to convention, Kaido could launch a surprise attack on her at any time. This vigilance lasted until noon, and she found that Arceus and Kaido were gone. Not only that, even Shaina, who was usually responsible for training them, disappeared. After she learned from other people that Arceus and Kaido had set sail, she did not have any negative emotions, but jumped up happily. Everyone was gone, so she seemed to be able to play at will. At the same time, in the kingdom of West Kail, the rebels led by Seth did not fail. They received a strong support from Manderfish last night. After reporting the intelligence, Manderfish brought his men to the rebels' position, and then the cannons on the ship attacked the kingdom army without saying a word. He didn't want these rebels to get mercenaries for free, but the kingdom army's behavior was directly hostile to them, which directly forced them to the opposite side. Without a group fight or covering his men's retreat, Manderfish was not afraid of the swordsman, and the battlefield fell into a new stalemate for a while. Why? As a person with abilities, you obviously fell into the water. How could you still be alive? There is no ship nearby to pick you up. I don't need to explain this to you. As I said before, you should cherish the last time. Due to the intervention of Manderfish and others, the original plan of the kingdom army was completely broken, but Sakavi did not think it was his fault. He believed that it was because Manderfish was one of them that he participated in this battle. After a while, the battle between the kingdom army and the rebel army turned into a tug-of-war, because Manderfish's ships had used up all the shells they carried. Their shells were specially made, and the shells outside did not match the caliber of their gun barrels, so they could not be mixed. However, the situation was not friendly to the rebel army, because in the previous battle they lost the main source of food, and now the supplies could not last too long. That night, Seth brought a few people to find Manderfish, and made a request. You want us to help you defeat that king? Yes, we can pay from his treasury later. He has been levying heavy taxes for so many years, and there must be a lot of money in the treasury. We don't accept such empty promises. We are here only because we have a grudge against that king. But don't worry, he won't live long. By the way, if you move to another island, where do you want to live? Why do you ask? Because the fate of this island is already doomed. Manfish said something that Seth didn't understand, and in the early morning of more than a month later, a huge pirate ship cut through the morning fog and arrived at Krakana Island. Krakana Island is like this most of the time. The sea fog here is relatively thick, and sunny days are rare. But today, the residents of Krakana Island experienced the hottest sunshine in their lives. The huge sun dispelled the thick fog and woke up Sakavi, who was still sleeping. What's going on? Why is the sun so bright? Just as he was still puzzled by the change in the weather, his palace suddenly shook violently. At the gate of the royal city, the defenders here were stunned, and the weapons in their hands fell to the ground. Fear filled everyone's heart, because the originally majestic city walls and gates were gone, replaced by bottomless ravines. Just after the sun shone here, a beam of light drew a circle along the traces of the city wall, and then it became like this. Then what is that? Those rebel weapons? No, I don't know. Just as they were still puzzled, red figures flew across the sky. This was Rotom in the form of a loudspeaker, and the loudspeakers under them began to shout to everyone. Lotto. Attention, everyone outside the royal family and the royal guards. Lotto, you have 3 hours to leave this city. The divine punishment is coming. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 331, War of Annihilation. Lotto, there are only 3 hours left. Please leave the royal city as soon as possible. Lotto, please hurry up. Rotom in the form of megaphone spread this voice everywhere. This was the order given to them by Arceus. 3 hours of evacuation time, according to estimates, was enough for these people to leave the royal city. As for those who did not leave, that had nothing to do with him. The sunlight that dispelled the fog and the light column that destroyed the city wall were all the work of Arceus. The sunny day he released could completely change the sky. This is the situation in Wano country now. Arceus can interfere with the climate there with his own power. Whether there are constant natural disasters or good weather depends entirely on his mood. After the sunny day, there is the sun and fire. White smoke rises beside the gully. That is the trace left by the high temperature of the sun and fire. At this time, although the surrounding land seems to be no different, it has already become like a flaming mountain. This is what Arceus did after his arrival. His last limit was not to attack indiscriminately. According to Mandafesh's intelligence, he locked his target on the royal family and the guards. As for others, even soldiers, as long as they laid down their weapons, he could ignore them. The kingdom army was still in order under the command and jurisdiction of their respective leaders, but it was different for ordinary people, especially those who had seen with their own eyes how the city wall was destroyed. There were still tears in their eyes, which were caused by the strong light of the sun's flames, but they could not care about it now. The previous war did not allow them to escape, because the battle between the rebels and the king's army was still within their acceptable range. But what happened at this time was beyond their understanding. When faced with something incomprehensible, running away was the first thing they thought of. That beam of light could destroy the city wall, and it could destroy the city. They did not think that their bodies would be stronger than the city wall. Get up. Don't sleep. Hurry up and leave. What happened? The rebels broke in? It's not a rebel, anyway. Leave quickly. We can't stay here anymore. The news was also spreading in the city. More and more people chose to run away with their gold and silver. Although those people outside the city were so-called rebels, they were not afraid of anything. Many people even had relatives in the rebels. They were originally a group of civilians who were forced to rebel. From beginning to end, they were only opposing the royal family. Most of the troops were still under control, but the sentries on duty were different. Even the commander did not stop them, because he had already run away. This inhuman attack made them unable to raise the mute to resist. The sound of Rotom's speakers could also be heard in the royal city. Sakavi did not believe in the so-called divine punishment at all, and even picked up a gun and shot at Rotom in the sky. Shut up. What are you monsters shouting? I'm the only king of the kingdom of Sakaya. Here I'm the god. The bullet left a dent on Rotom's body, but Rotom did not care about such things at all. This body was just a piece of clothing to them, and it didn't matter if it was crushed. You ignorant people, Lotto. You ignorant people who covet the treasures of the master, Lotto. Rotom in the sky did not get angry because of this, but instead increased his ridicule of CKV. However, at this time, another change completely destroyed the relatively stable situation. Arceus only released the attack on the clouds and gave them time to evacuate, but Kaido did not have so many ideas. The huge body of the blue dragon appeared in the sky, and it blew a breath of heat towards the royal city. The high temperature flame split the royal city in two, and the capital of the kingdom of Sakail, which had existed for 100 years, was directly engulfed in flames. Hey, Kaido, it's not 3 hours yet. I know, but didn't you leave time for those civilians? These guys in the royal city obviously don't count. I can't help it. Hey, you are the fifth, right? You are the kid who touched my men, right? Kaido's huge body lowered slightly, and he blew a breath from his mouth, causing CKV to collapse directly to the ground. TSK, I thought he was someone else, but he turned out to be such a coward. Where is your courage before? Kaido thought that this person was at least a little courageous for daring to attack Mandafesh. He didn't say that he would die calmly, but at least he could have a few words with him. He didn't expect that he would be scared like this. What are you all standing there for? Everyone except the royal family and the royal guards can leave, but I remind you that if any of the royal guards or the royal family sneak in, everyone on the island will die. Kaido's voice spread almost all over the island through the Rotom loudspeaker, and his destructive behavior accelerated the escape of those people and also caused some civil unrest. For example, some royal guards also wanted to escape quietly, but they were recognized and beaten back by others. They didn't think that the monster in the sky was joking, and no one wanted to get involved. Looking at the chaotic royal city, Kaido did nothing. He was waiting for 3 hours. After all, Arceus promised these evacuation times. Kaido's attack also made ZKV realize the reality. He tried to explain, but Kaido ignored him no matter whether he bribed or flattered him, and when he tried to escape, Kaido's attack would inevitably block his retreat. Kaido's attack could kill him directly, but Kaido just didn't do it, and Rotom in the sky was still counting down, which was like a death announcement for him. Compared to sudden death, a clear time of death is more frightening. Senior, you have a way, right? You have an agreement with my father. The swordsman next to him became the last person he could rely on, but the swordsman did not speak. Someone had just recognized Kaido's identity. His image often appeared in newspapers. Monsters with a bounty of 10 figures were not his match. Rotom's countdown came to an end, and most people evacuated, and Arceus also came over. You don't seem to know what crime you have committed. Then let me tell you, greed is the original sin you committed. He felt a familiar atmosphere in the palace, and under his guidance, another stone slab returned to its position. It is your sin to touch my things. The kingdom of Sakail will be erased from history because of your actions. From now on, you are just a piece of text in history. As time was completely consumed, Arceus's punishment like gravel had also condensed. The beam of judgment swept the entire royal city with him as the center, and in just a moment, it turned this place into a piece of dust in history. Whether it was the royal guards or CKV, all the lives left in the royal city were completely wiped out, and there was nothing to prove that they had ever existed. Chapter 332, Mandafesh's Light of Evolution. Outside the royal city, there were ruins, which were traces of years of fighting between the kingdom army and the rebels, while inside the royal city, it had become a sea of dust. Under the annihilation of the sanctions, there was nothing left except dust, and the composition of dust was also very complex. King Sakavi and his royal city had completely merged into one. As for the so-called swordsman, he did not run away and beg for mercy like Sakavi did in the face of the final attack. He tried to fight back with his sword, but let alone him who had just comprehended the cutting of steel. Even if he was a great swordsman, he had no ability to resist this natural disaster. Facing the trampling of the giant, a nest of ants would not make any difference. Whether it was the ant king, the worker ant, or the larger soldier ant, the ending was the same. Those who escaped slowly were knocked to the ground by this wave of air, and then, When they got up from the ground, the tall royal city behind them had long disappeared, and a basin appeared out of thin air on the island of Krakana. Whether it was the kingdom army that once guarded this place or the rebels who wanted to attack this place, their expressions were completely sluggish. Many of them who lived in the first half of the Grand Line had never left Krakana Island, and today they saw what the consequences of a top military force would be. Relying on the walls of the royal city, the kingdom army had been resting on their laurels, because the rebels were very weak in the attack. Similarly, in order to capture the walls, the rebels also paid a huge loss of life, but this made the long fought royal city like a toy in the hands of the other side. The dragon spewed dragon breath, and the judgment fell from the sky, turning the majestic city into a bubble. At the same time, a greater fear appeared in their hearts, especially some well-informed people in the kingdom army. They knew that after the raid that night, the rebels had a group of powerful reinforcement, accompanied by fierce artillery support. The ship was more maneuverable than them, and the power and range of the ship's guns far exceeded their kingdom's weapons. If it weren't for the lack of shells, they would have no way out. A few months later, such a terrifying existence also descended on Krakana Island. It was obvious that the action that day had offended someone. If these people were in the same group as the rebels, thinking of this consequence, many of the kingdom army retreated. While most people were still staring at the scene of the royal city in a daze, they took off their armor and fled from the kingdom army. However, what they didn't know was that the rebels were also confused at this time. Previously, Manfesh had inexplicably brought people to join their team. According to him, it was because they had a grudge with the other party. Although the war was not going well, Manfesh's people were very calm. Every day they were just waiting with confidence. Seth thought it was just an ordinary reinforcement, but he didn't expect it to be such a terrifying existence. Then he couldn't imagine what this country would be like next. They could still resist against ZKV, but he didn't know how to resist against these people. It was a complete dimensionality reduction attack. Compared with the dullness or panic of these people, the pirates on the ship of the beast pirates roared excitedly. There were few old people among these people, and many of them were pirates who had expanded in recent years. Although still called pirates, the development of the beasts is getting closer and closer to the local warlords under the control of some disciplines formulated by Arceus and AC, and there is almost no opposition to the occupation of the beasts in the territory. And these newcomers are also pirates who came here for the reputation, and were recruited after being examined. Personal worship has a strong influence in the group of pirates. They may not like to do this, but the order from the captain can change their habits. Because these people have just joined, they have hardly seen Kaido take action. This time, when the cadres stationed on different islands received the order to reorganize the staff, they were specifically asked to bring newcomers as much as possible. Taking back the slate, revenge, establishing prestige, and showing force to the newcomers, Kaido and Arceus's action has gained far more than what they see. Although they did nothing, they were more excited than themselves when they saw the destruction caused by Kaido and Arceus. Arceus's work is done, and next is Kaido's home court. As the governor of the Beast's pirates, he still has a lot of face outside. Ugh, you guys have seen it. This is the price for ignoring my flag, hurting the cadres I value, and robbing my things. Remember what happened today, unless you also want to experience the feeling of destruction. After destroying the capital of the kingdom of Zakail, the beasts had no interest in this country. According to their investigation here, this country has no meaning to occupy, and they don't even have the qualifications to join them. The location is too remote, not on the main route, the economic development potential is not high, the soil environment is not superior, and the foggy climate is not suitable for the development of agriculture and animal husbandry under the beasts. Moreover, it is far in the first half of the Grand Line, and it does not have the vast gold resources and shellfish specialties of Sky Island. It is not worth occupying by the beasts at all. Moreover, with this economic situation, I'm afraid they can't afford the cost of using the beast's flag. After all, even those weapons were given by Manfesh at half price. There are many islands in the New World that even actively seek the protection of the beasts, and Krakana Island is not qualified yet. The beast's pirates temporarily rested on the coast of Krakana Island. For these ordinary pirates, this operation was like watching a movie, which made them personally experience the power of their captain. Sometimes the pirates' carnival does not need a reason, such as the reason now is to celebrate the power of their captain. At the same time, Mandafesh also got something that belongs to him. Mandafesh, come here. In the carnival of the pirates, Mandafesh was called out alone. Lord Arceus, you did a good job. Although you couldn't bring the things back directly, you also found what I needed, so you will get the reward you deserve. A ball of power was separated from the water drop slate, which was very similar to the ball of light that Yamato got that year, and then the ball of light slowly merged into Mandafesh's body. This is the light of evolution. What you have done deserves this reward. Your ability will become stronger and more comprehensive. Keep working hard. The light of evolution broke the limit of his Magikarp ability and made him qualified to evolve into Gyarados. Compared to Magikarp, which only has armored scales, Gyarados has inherited the hard scales and is more powerful. It is an epic enhancement of Mandafesh, but there has been no change for the time being after the light of evolution was integrated into its body. Lord Arceus, this evolution. Use your abilities more during this period, and it will evolve naturally when the time is right. Chapter 333, the title of the Sea Emperor. The development of the fruit is also part of self-training. The conditions for evolution have been opened. With the increase of Mandafesh's own strength, evolution is a matter of course. Sometimes some opportunities can also increase his evolution trend. Listen to all of you. Mandafesh can get these not because of anything else, but because he found the corresponding things. This condition is universal for everyone. Mandafesh is just a beginning. Pearman, who found the suspected stone slab on the table, and the people who traveled with Mandafesh have corresponding rewards, and the dead have corresponding pensions. While the beasts were resting, the kingdom army and the rebel army also started a new round of negotiations at the residence of a duke far away from the royal city. Zakavi is the only son of Zakay IV. He is young and has no offspring, but it is useless. After all, Arceus destroyed the entire royal family. His lack of offspring has reduced the number of people implicated. Now that the bloodline of the Zakay royal family has completely disappeared, the future of the Zakay kingdom has become a problem. Who will rule this country has become the biggest problem. Moreover, the existence of the beast's pirates is also an unsolvable problem for them. They don't know what the other party wants to do. But early the next morning, the people of the beasts left here directly. After confirming that the people of the beasts had really left, the remaining people who led the kingdom army and the rebels started a new conflict. This time it was not to maintain the so-called royal power, but to fight for their own interests. Shortly after the beasts left, two different groups of people arrived at Krakana Island separately, one of which was the Navy's investigation force. They knew that Kaido and his men had landed on the island before, but they did not respond. A war-torn non-member country was not worth their military expenditure. Facing a flying enemy, a surprise attack is not very meaningful. The second group of people was not human, but a group of baboons. This kind of baboon is called a human imitator. It always imitates some human behaviors. They imitated some crew members in the place where they lived before. After selling, they came here by coincidence. Although the Navy did not send anyone before, the photographer of the World Economic News Agency sneaked in. Morgans was obsessed with big news, and naturally he had many such reporters under him. The news of the closure of navigation that Quinn passed on through UMIT spread almost all over the underground world. Morgans naturally received the news. His intuition told him that there must be big news. So he sent some capable subordinates to rush here before the closure of navigation. The World Economic News Agency has its own branches in various sea areas. At this time, he had used special equipment to transmit photos back. The raised royal city, Kaido spewing flames in the sky, and the photo he was most satisfied with this time, the photo of Arceus. He was too shocked when Arceus released the sunlight and flames, so he forgot to press the shutter, but in the end it created a miraculous effect. Arceus stood above the clouds, and the sunlight enhanced by the sunny day formed a perfect halo. In addition to the condescending posture, although the size of Arceus in the photo is not as large as Kaido's blue dragon body, compared with the pet photo taken by the CP agent at the bow, this photo highlights the other party's style. It's like a punishment from heaven. This is simply a work of art. It's a pity that it's a pirate, otherwise this photo would definitely win the world government's photography award. The official competition does not encourage this kind of promotion of pirates, so his photos are at most for some private events. The confidence of winning the award is his confidence as a photographer. Just as he was immersed in his work, Morgans laughed wildly at the photos and news manuscripts sent back by his men on an island somewhere in the New World. Wahahaha, Kaido really made a big news. Guys, start writing the manuscript. Who will get the prize this time depends on your performance. This is a feat of annihilating a country in the form of an albatross. He looked at the reports sent back by the frontline reporters and began to think about how to write the news headlines. Violent news always attracts people's attention, not to mention this kind of behavior of destroying a country. Panic, shock, these complex emotions are bound to set off a big news. Change it here. Only mention the destruction of the country. Don't mention the casualties. It's better to let them think that everyone is dead. Hahaha. Morgans is very good at false propaganda. The original information of the incident has not changed, but he only said part of it and then said some ambiguous words so that they can make up some pictures in their minds. As for the reason, change it and say that they offended the beasts. Well, that's it. Morgans does this kind of exaggeration every day. According to his understanding, Kaido will not settle anything for this matter. After all, his behavior is making him famous. Moreover, the headquarters of the World Economic News Agency looks like a huge teapot, and there is actually a giant hot air balloon on top. Their headquarters can move, and Morgans often moves the location, because the news he reports sometimes causes a lot of trouble. There are some people in the world government and the pirates who hope that he can shut up completely. He even has a good fighting skill, but no one knows it. The reporters at these headquarters have excellent writing skills. They quickly wrote 4 or 5 drafts and handed them to Morgans for a view. But, well written. Change the headline of the next issue. What's the point of that singer releasing a new song? Compared to Kaido who destroyed a country, no one cares about a song. President, what should the headline of the newspaper be? Well, you reminded me right. We need an exaggerated title. The king who destroyed a country is nothing in front of them. Got it? The Sea Emperor who reigns over the world. Just write it like this. Morgan's mind was spinning rapidly and finally came up with such a title. Wait. It's not enough. One Kaido is not enough. We have to add some competition. Lingling and Whitebird, bring the pen. I will write this issue myself. The next day, the following description appeared in Morgan's newspaper. The pirate queen of the Totland Sea, Big Mom, Charlotte Lingling. The person who was praised as the closest to the position of pirate king after Roger's death. The strongest man in the world, Edward Newgate, Whitebird. Kaido of Beasts, a terrifying pirate who destroyed a country directly because of being angered. They reign over the New World like the emperors of the sea, dividing up most of the New World seas and fighting for the legendary Great Treasure. Morgans is the one who enjoys watching the fun. Not only is he not afraid of big things happening, he also strives to make the impact of things even bigger, such as the title of the Emperor of the Sea. Chapter 334, Heaven Punisher. None of the 3 of them publicized this kind of thing themselves, but Morgans directly crowned them, especially Whitebird and Big Mom, whose children suddenly saw the news. The result was just as Morgans expected. The title of the Emperor of the Sea made the newspaper sell well the next day, and the result of the newspaper selling well also caused many consequences, and different people had different reactions to it. Morgans has published new news again. This time he called you the Emperor of the Sea. Lick Perospero reported the situation to Charlotte Lindlin with the newspaper. But Morgans is really restless. This way, the situation in the sea will become complicated again. Those newcomers who don't know the height of the world may want to ascend the throne. Katakuri is more concerned about the impact of this matter. Whether it is the Big Mom pirates, the Beasts pirates, or even the Whitebird pirates, they all have one thing in common. That is, the second in command is very busy, because their captain always walks on the wrong path. Most of the things of the Big Mom pirates are now arranged by Katakuri and Perospero, and Charlotte Lindlin spends most of her time adding brothers and sisters to them. Well, it doesn't matter, those guys will understand what horror is. Of course. After all, the Bank of China has you, my mother. Although Perospero said so, Katakuri could see the helplessness in Perospero's eyes. For the current Bank of China, the most dangerous thing is not the outsiders, but Charlotte Lin herself. If those newcomers get sick and rob Big Mom's food, and then cause her to have an attack of bulimia, that would be a real big trouble. Perospero has made up his mind to increase the escort force, but he has to find a way to persuade Big Mom to create more soldiers. At the same time, on a large ship that looks like a white whale in the new world, the pirates on the ship are having a banquet. This is the Moby Dick, Whitebeard's vehicle. Compared with Kaido and Charlotte Lin, Whitebeard spends more time on the ship. He enjoys the feeling of sailing with his family. Dad, you should take medicine. I'm not sick. What medicine should I take? Your body needs to be taken care of. Dad, listen to the doctor. It's just a minor problem now. It will be bad if it gets worse. Although Whitebeard has not yet reached the stage of intravenous oxygen inhalation, his body has begun to need medicine to take care of it, and some minor problems have begun to appear in his body. Gilila, wine is the best medicine. Drinking is enough for this minor illness. Just as the two nurses in Leopard Prince were coaxing Whitebeard to drink medicine like coaxing a child, Marco also came over with a newspaper. Dad, big news. You became the emperor. Emperor. While Whitebeard was distracted by the word emperor, the nurse directly stuffed the medicine into his mouth. Fortunately, Whitebeard was sitting on a recliner, otherwise this action would be quite difficult. Such scenes happen from time to time, and the people on the ship have become accustomed to it. After taking the newspaper, Whitebeard also read the report. TSK, Kaido has made quite a stir. The old bird Morgans, the Emperor of the Sea, is really bold. But Dad, isn't this cool? If you are the Emperor of the Sea, we are also princes, right? Gilila, it seems to be right to say so. What, do you want to be a prince? No, I'm not interested in that. I just want to be with you, Dad. Silly boy, but this is good news, guys. The party continues. But you have to pay more attention later. Trouble is coming. Oh. Whitebeard doesn't care much about this false name, but this title seems to allow him to better protect his family. At this time, the Moby Dick is heading towards Shampoo Land, but Whitebeard is not going to the first half, but to Fishman Island, to see his old friend. Whitebeard and Big Mom generally have no negative emotions here, but the Navy who saw the newspaper is different. Morgans, that bastard. The Emperor of the Sea. Is he giving a title to pirates? If pirates can become emperors, what about our Navy? There were more than one similar voices. Both the Hawks and Doves were very angry about Morgans' promotion of pirates, but they could do nothing about it. The World Economic News Agency is a legal enterprise, and the world government did not object to this news. They believed that more pirates would challenge the so-called emperor position, and increase the civil strife among pirates. As for the more pirates going out to sea in the face of the Navy, they never took it seriously. Things have two sides, but the officials of the world government can magnify one side for the sake of profit and let people ignore the other side. Although the damage caused by Kaido and Arceus is terrible, they are not the only ones who can do this. Due to the mistake of the journalists, the photos recorded did not include the scene of Arceus' attack. The scene passed on by word of mouth is also much worse in reference, so they just continue to raise its danger level. For the world government, destroying a capital of a non-member country is nothing. Even if the member countries and islands are destroyed, it is nothing. There are more than one or two such islands in the long history. It is not that Joy Boy has been resurrected. In addition to the title of the Sea Emperor, the result of this incident is the change of the bounty order. Kaido's photo has not been changed. It is impossible for them to put Kaido's dragon form on it when they know his true appearance. Arceus' title and photo have been replaced. The photo taken by the reporter replaced the original photo, and the previous hidden person has become the Sky Punisher. Kaido, the Beast, bounty 3.579 billion baileys. Sky Punisher, Arceus, bounty 2.58 billion baileys. The change in the bounty also led to a special situation. The Beast Pirates became the only pirate group on the sea with a bounty of more than 2 billion for both of them. Although Whitebeard still has the highest bounty among those alive and not captured, the Beast's Pirates, as the youngest pirate group in the Imperial Group, have demonstrated strength and status. that is not inferior to any other pirate group. The beasts had no objection to this title. The Beast King directly launched a new carnival halfway, and the cult of Arceus also underwent certain changes. The photo of the bounty order was indeed well taken. After being enlarged and cropped, the photo was decorated in many places, such as Shaina's ship, Onagashima's office, and so on. Yamato on Onagashima looked at the newspaper sent back, and seemed to have discovered something incredible. My godfather and my father actually sneaked out without telling me. Chapter 335, Yamato's ending vacation, Lieutenant Commander Doro. The Beast's pirates destroyed the capital of the kingdom of Sakail, and the island was a piece of land. How do you pronounce this word? After discovering that Arceus and Kaido had secretly gone out to play without her knowledge, she also read the contents of the newspaper after a brief contemplation, and then she found that there seemed to be a lot of uncommon characters. Mariah, read it for me. Those characters are so complicated. Between memorizing and being trained by Kaido, she would rather choose the latter. Kaido's training brought physical fatigue and pain, but the words were simply exhausting. Although no one planned to let her do scientific research, she still had to learn basic mathematics and characters. Cultural courses were always a painful part for her. Mariah took the newspaper and read it. Morgan's newspaper writing had a strong literary foundation, and the description of a few words made it easy for people to associate some terrible things. For Mariah and Jack, this kind of thing didn't matter at all. It seemed natural for them to think that the country that offended the beasts would be destroyed, but Robin's face gradually turned pale as she listened to the contents of the newspaper. This kind of thing seemed to be no different from the Demon Slayer order. Robin, what's wrong with you? Nothing. I just feel that destroying a country is a big deal. Yamato suddenly remembered that Robin's hometown was also destroyed in this way, but she had a completely different view from Mariah and Jack. Don't worry, the newspapers always like to exaggerate. Didn't they also have all kinds of excuses when O'Hara was destroyed before? Believe me, the facts are definitely not like this. If it were my father, he might do this, but my stepfather couldn't have affected so many innocent people. This is Yamato's inherent cognition. Arceus has been very rational most of the time, since she could remember. He rarely gets angry except for things related to the stone tablet, and she already knows the gap between the newspaper and the facts. And look at these people in Wano country, how well they live. If you don't believe it, I'll take you to ask them when they come back. There must be a difference between news and facts, and from the beginning to the end they only said that the capital was destroyed, and everything else is ambiguous. As long as she considers them friends, she will pay close attention to the other party's situation, and she doesn't think there is anything wrong with what she said. Considering the current peaceful and prosperous situation in Wano and the daily lies of the world government in the newspapers, Robin felt that what Yamato said made some sense. At this time, she also had a new idea, to go out and see what the real world is like while verifying history. Okay, don't think too much, hurry up and play, otherwise you won't have a chance when father and others come back. Yamato's reminder made Mariah and the others realize that the current game time is very precious and can't be wasted anymore. According to Yamato's understanding of Kaido, he will definitely hold a surprise exam when he comes back. But she only guessed half right. When Kaido came back 2 months later, he did hold a surprise exam, but the difficulty of the exam, or the degree of life-threatening, was different from what she thought. Because only Kaido came back. Father, hasn't my foster father come back yet? He's out there looking for his own things. I'm the only one who came back first. Now let me check your training results. You better not waste your training in the past few months. He opened his mouth and began to spit fire. He wanted to see how Yamato's ability was applied. However, although Yamato, who had been playing for a long time, could spit out some freezing air, he couldn't compete with Kaido's flames. In the end, he was burned by Kaido and ran around. Father, are you going to kill someone? How is that possible? I prepared a tree fruit for you that is specially used to treat burns. Now think of a way to fight back. You have wasted some time in the past few months. On the way back, the fleet of the beasts separated. Only the Beast King returned to Wano country. The other ships were centered on Krakana Island and dispersed to other areas to search for stone slabs. Since there are scattered stone slabs on Krakana Island, there may be other islands as well. So several ships went to other directions, and the ship led by Shaina was heading for the first half of the Grand Route near the Upside Down Mountain. The effect of the news spread by Morgans also began to ferment. Since the Pirate King, the title of Sea Emperor appeared in their cognition, Morgans called them the people closest to the position of the Pirate King in the news report. This also gave many pirates a clear redirection. For example, before becoming the Pirate King, they set a small goal to become the new Sea Emperor. Some naive pirates tried to replicate Kaido's feat of destroying the country, and then they experienced the horror of the state machine. Except for a very small number of pirates, most pirates do not have the ability to challenge a country. In short, the tide of the great pirate era opened by Roger has become more turbulent at this time. Big sister, there is an island ahead. Let's go over to resupply. We don't have much supplies on the ship. On Shaina's ship, the pirate in charge of logistics reported the supply situation and put forward a request for supply. Well, let's get to the shore. Looking at the motionless slate radar on her wrist, Shaina had no expression. Manfesh had found a slate by chance, but she and Jin had not gained much. The biggest help was the information about Sky Island. This naturally made her unhappy, so this team sailed the farthest, but under the temptation of rewards, they had no complaints. Manfesh was almost the chosen one in the Arceus cult. So far, he had received most of the rewards, which made everyone admire his good luck. Moreover, Manfesh himself was a responsible person. Most people were just envious, and a few were jealous, but no one did anything to hurt their teammates. In order not to be delayed by the mess in finding the slate, Shaina ordered people to hide the boat in a hidden place, leaving some people to guard the boat, and taking others to the island. Anyway, they had to replenish supplies, so it was no problem to explore it. However, in the regular port of the island, she saw a ship with a pirate flag hanging here. The pirates in paradise are really brave. They just parked in the port so openly. Why do they say there are so many idiots here? Let's go and restock our supplies. The big sister is watching us. Several pirates who changed into casual clothes walked towards the market, but soon they heard footsteps behind them, and the navy appeared here. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Make way for Major Doro. Don't interfere with the navy's mission. Chapter 336. This table seems suspicious. This island has more than one port. This navy team landed from another port. Now they are holding guns and surrounding another port where a pirate ship is docked. At the same time, a warship is approaching the port. Those pirates are going to be in trouble. It seems that this group of navy is going after them. This posture is obviously a prepared encirclement. It seems that they have been targeted for a long time. It serves them right. Who made them so blatant? Dare to blatantly park a pirate ship flying a pirate flag at the port of an island. Even if this is an island under the jurisdiction of a non-member country, it may attract the navy. In that case, whether to arrest or not depends entirely on the interest of the generals leading the team. If it is a member country, the situation will be more complicated. Even they will hide their ships in secluded places in the open sea to avoid unnecessary trouble. The behavior of these pirates in the paradise makes them feel too pretentious. Not necessarily. There are some incredible guys among the new recruits these years. Maybe the unlucky ones are the navy. A mere lieutenant commander of the navy. If you don't know him, you would think he is a major general. Major commanders of the headquarters are also grassroots officers in this sea. There are quite a lot of them. They form the grassroots command system of the navy. They don't take this level of navy seriously at all. Although they may not be the opponent's opponent, they are not the leader of the team. If they want to take them down, they must have at least a lieutenant general of the headquarters to lead the team. It must be one of those monster level lieutenants. Forget it. It has nothing to do with us. Hurry up and replenish supplies. Let them fight if they want. As he said that, he continued to walk towards the defense line of the town and took out the Dendenmashi on the way. The weather is not very good. A seagull just flew over, but it was not big. Dendenmashi are not rare materials. The snails used to make Dendenmashi are widely available in the sea. Some people with good hands-on skills can make Dendenmashi by hand. Moreover, the accessories and decorations of Dendenmashi have formed an industrial chain. The required parts are very cheap and can be found on any island that is not very remote. As for domestication, it is not a problem. The biggest interest of this species is to find a human to provide them with food and shelter so that they can live a life of ease from then on. It is not strange for civilians to use den mushi, but it would be strange to emphasize the navy. After all, ordinary people will not pay attention to where the navy goes. When they encounter situations outside, they will use this method to transmit information in case there are rears on the other side. Seagulls refer to the navy, and not big means people who are not threatening. After saying that, they continued on the road of exchanging materials. The navy that rounded up the pirates did not gain anything. Although they blocked the pirate ship, there were only a few pirates left on the ship. Major Doro learned from the captured pirates that the other people on the ship went to the village on the east side of the island. There is not only one village on an island. There are some villages and towns distributed in the plains suitable for living. The village on the east side of this island is also a relatively rich gathering place for residents. Major Doro, it seems they just left not long ago. What should we do? Need I say more? We are the navy, partners of justice. Of course we have to bring those pirates to justice. Everyone go out, wipe out all those pirates. He took out his pistol and shot several captured pirates. He didn't intend to keep these ordinary pirates alive. This group of navy and the previous group of buyers of 100 beasts staggered their team. The pirates of 100 beasts went to the town in the center of the island, where trade was more convenient. Although the prices were higher than those in the surrounding villages, the variety of goods was more comprehensive. They had to replenish not only food and fresh water, but also tobacco, alcohol, medicine, and some raw materials for making gunpowder. When these pirates returned to the gathering place with the supplies, they did not see Shaina. Where's the big sister? Why is she gone? Every time the big sister arrives at a new island, she will definitely explore the entire island. Have you forgotten this? I guess we'll have to spend the night here today. Watching the setting sun, several pirates began to set up camp and make a fire. It would be nice to be able to rest on land. Although the cabin is relatively spacious, the grassroots also live in bunk beds, and only the Carters have independent rooms to live in. On land, they can find some more spacious places to rest well. As for when Shaina will come back, that is not a problem they should worry about at all. Even if they are put together, Shaina alone is not enough. Let's go. I think the pot of soup will take a long time to stew. Let's go explore the nearby mountains and forests. What if there is really something of Lord Arceus? Mandafesh is so lucky that he can find things when delivering goods. I don't believe my luck is so bad. According to Shaina's habit, she will start exploring from a distance and leave the close places to her subordinates. After she comes back, she will check for any gaps. However, it turns out that Mandafesh's luck is difficult to replicate. They didn't find the stone slab, but they did carry a wild boar back. Why did you bring this thing back? The meat is terrible. Let's try your cooking skills. What if it's not bad? But by the way, is there any fireworks show here? I haven't heard of it. This is not an island with a developed tourism industry. There are no such activities. Haven't you seen enough of the fireworks on Ghost Island? That's not the case. It's just that there is a fire on the east side of the mountain. It seems quite lively. After the team that went out to explore said this, the camp suddenly became very quiet. Did the big sister also go to the east? Does the big sister often use fire? The pirates looked at each other and finally stood up and ran over there at the same time. Although they might not be able to help, it would be no problem to clear the place. In the village on the east side of the island, Shaina felt that she was inexplicably involved in some troubles. She just went into the village for a stroll. Mandafesh's experience showed one thing. Although others could not use the power of the stone slab, they could use it in other aspects. For example, it could be used as a table, a millstone, or even a house. If you think in this way, the difficulty of exploration would be much higher. So she just wandered around the village with a radar, but inexplicably encountered a group of pirates. These pirates had nothing to do with her. She was always indifferent to such irrelevant foreign affairs. This was her character caused by her previous life on the run. At that time, meddling in other people's affairs could easily kill herself. But just as the pirates started looting, a fire directly surrounded the village. Chapter 337. Navy's sophistry. Are these guys crazy? Even without using her observation haki, she could be sure that the fire had nothing to do with these pirates, because pirates would not burn themselves when setting a fire. Flames cannot harm the Lunarians. They are born to be the darlings of flames. In addition to controlling their own flames, they also have extremely high resistance to external flames. This kind of flame is no different from normal temperature for them. However, she smelled a gasoline-like smell in the air, which seemed to have a strong accelerant. What happened next explained the reason for all this. Intensive gunfire sounded from the periphery, and all moving targets on the street became targets. Whether they were civilians or pirates, people outside were shooting indiscriminately. An old woman and a young man beside her fell down in panic. Although she had no fluctuations in her heart, she still spread the wings on her back to block the incoming bullets. Many times, Shaina's performance was more like a collection of contradictions, indifferent to things that had nothing to do with Arceus and herself. At first, Setsuna was able to entangle Shaina because of her sense of smell, but when things happened right under her nose, she would not ignore it at all, such as saving Setsuna at that time. Although that was not her goal, she also untied the opponent's chain and let him hide in a place. She would not deliberately save someone, but when ordinary people around her were heading for death, she would not mind helping them. Find a place to hide yourself. Shaina's wings were wrapped in hot flames, and her body strength was already full. These bullets could not cause any harm to her at all. Thank you, hurry up. I don't have time to take care of you all the time. As she said that, she raised her hand and slashed forward in the air, clearing a path in the sea of fire. Since the day she regained her freedom, her goal was to make herself more rational, but there was no result. In most cases, she was still an emotional creature. You attacked me first. Being attacked meant that this matter was no longer irrelevant to her, and she had a reason to act. The fire blocked the entire village and spread rapidly under the influence of accelerants and wind. The pirates on the street were the initial targets, but as the fire spread, the entire village was affected. Major Doro, are we going too far? Most of the navy was on guard outside, and only a few confidants followed Doro into the burning village. They were here to further eliminate the remaining pirates. Let me ask you, what is the crime of this group of pirates we are chasing? Robbery, murder. Many villages and towns have been looted by them. Yes, we finally blocked them. If we let them run away again, will there be more victims? Sacrificing the people of this village to save more people from danger. What's wrong with this? Looking at the flames burning all around, Doro's heart was not shaken at all. If you want to blame someone, blame the pirates. Since the beginning of the Great Pirate Era, so many people have been hurt. I'm just working hard to ban pirates. As long as pirates remain in this world, many innocent people will have to live in fear. In order to eliminate them, necessary sacrifices are inevitable. He raised his right hand and pressed the switch towards a suspected pirate. A flame spurted out from his hand. The red flame was like a thorn in the flesh, and it directly burned the struggling man into charcoal. The strange object originally hidden under the coat was revealed. Doro's arms were equipped with cylindrical weapons, which looked a bit like a rocket launcher or a spinning stick, but two catheters extended from the back of the cylindrical objects, each connected to the container hanging on both sides of the waist. Starting from the lieutenant, the Navy members will receive the justice coat issued by the above. When they reach the school level, except for the justice coat, other clothes can be worn according to their preferences. Under Doro's coat is such a strange device. The things from the scientific research unit are really useful. We should have more of them. This flamethrower is also a test product of the scientific research unit. It was originally used by the biochemical unit to destroy dangerous goods, but the actual combat performance of this weapon is also good, so a batch of them was sent down for testing. Doro was one of the testers. A strong flame burst out from the front end of the cylinder. The fuel in the fuel tank connected to the other end of the tube was constantly converted into flames. Some houses that were not burning were also ignited, and the surroundings were surrounded by flames in the blink of an eye. As the buildings burned, some screams came from them. Major, this is too much. Those people may be ordinary villagers. Are you all fools? The people in this village have been killed by pirates. We are eliminating pirates. Doro said ruthlessly. This kind of thing cannot be exposed, otherwise his job will be over, so both pirates and insiders must be eliminated here. And eliminating vicious pirates brings more merits. This is not the first time. We are all on the same boat. Keep your mouth shut, or no one will have a good ending. Yes, and I've told you before, don't think too much. These pirates can bring military merit. Only by getting a higher position can we better eliminate the pirates. For the safety of most people, the death of these people is worth it. It's all the fault of those vicious pirates. If you feel sorry, just eliminate a few more pirates in the future. Doro's flamethrower kept releasing flames, and he was also using this reason to explain to his confidants. Only by eliminating the pirates, as soon as possible can peace be restored on the sea. We are for justice. If he wants to climb to a higher position, he can't be a commander without troops. People like Garp have their own factions, and he doesn't have Garp's strength. Of course, he has to cultivate these people who have long been bound by interests. At this time, the house next to him collapsed because of the burning of the fire, but at the moment before the collapse, a thin figure was pushed out of the window. Looking at the little girl with the skin on her hand on fire, Doro frowned. Bandage her. Major, what's wrong? We are the Navy, partners of justice. How can we ignore an injured child? She doesn't look like a pirate and she doesn't even know what happened. However, looking at the collapsed house and the arm that seemed to be still struggling, he still aimed the flamethrower there. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 338, the continuation of the beast tradition. Flames spewed out from the nozzles, and the ruins were completely enveloped by flames. During this period, he naturally encountered real pirates, but Doro was not just a talker. In addition to the flamethrower he carried, his physical skills were also very strong when facing these pirates. At this time, the dendenmashi on Doro's body also rang. Major Doro. It's bad. There is a gap in the firewall, and many people ran out from it. What should I do? What? Kill them all. Those people are pirates and their accomplices. Hearing the report from the outsiders, Doro was shocked for a moment. If there were witnesses among those people who saw him setting the fire, he would be in big trouble, so he immediately issued an order to kill them for this reason. However, before the other side responded to the instructions, a new situation was encountered. New situation, Major Doro. There are pirates behind us. They are attacking us, and the leader is a capable person. He could see a woman with 2 green knives popping out of her elbow, constantly harvesting the lives of the nearby navy. They were cadres under Shaina. Most of the female members of the beasts are under the command of Shaina and Alga. There are many gender factors involved. However, they are able to defeat others and become cadres with their female bodies. Their talents are actually stronger than those of male pirates. Reinforcement? Annihilate them. No, that's not right. Major, those people are pirates from the beast's pirates. Request support. Before the word support was uttered, the dendenmashi had already stopped talking. Although there are many newcomers among these pirates, they are also newcomers who have fought in the new world. Moreover, the leaders are all old people, and many of them are direct subordinates of Shaina. As a group led by a big cadre of the Imperial group, facing these navy with the highest rank of major in the first half of the Grand Line, they are basically crushed. After seeing the fire here, the beast's pirates hiding nearby moved. They mistakenly thought that these navy had a conflict with Shaina, so they directly launched an attack. Hello, are you still there? The busy tone from dendenmashi hit him hard. As a school officer at the headquarters, the aftermath of Morgan's propaganda of the Sea Emperor was still there, and he was naturally familiar with it. Didn't the pirates from the New World, the group of beasts, go back a long time ago? Originally, they were only chasing a group of pirates with a bounty of more than 10 million, but now there seemed to be more trouble. The enemies inside the village have not been completely eliminated, and more powerful pirates have come outside the village. The original firewall that blocked this place has a loophole. Just as he was thinking about countermeasures, a figure that was very tall for Doro walked out of the flames. He was just over 2 meters tall, and compared with Shaina, he was also a dwarf, but looking at the figure in the flames, he pulled the switch of the flamethrower in his hand without thinking. Even if it was an ordinary person, it would not affect his attack. After all, being able to move means that the other party is still relatively conscious, and the shadow with wings does not look like an ordinary person. However, this time there was no sound from the flames, no screams or sounds of falling, but the shadow was getting closer and closer to him. Although the flames made it difficult for Doro to see the other person's face, the figure that was getting closer and closer made him more nervous. He further opened the valve to increase the intensity of the flame spray, while retreating a little bit at the same time. However, the flamethrower that made him sigh just now was completely useless at this time. A brown hand stretched out from the flames and grabbed the muzzle of the gun that was still spewing flames. This is not how you use fire. You should use it like this. Flames suddenly ignited on the palm, and the high temperature resistant muzzle gradually softened under the burning of Shaina's flames. Then it twisted into a ball under Shaina's grip. If it weren't for the perfect protection measures of this flamethrower, which cut off the fuel supply in time, it would probably explode directly. Why are you here? Compared with Jin and Zorora, who have appeared frequently in recent years, Shaina's presence is very low. She spent most of her time on Ghost Island handling official business, or leading people to search for things. Although she was also a person with a bounty of over 100 million, her intelligence was much less than that of other cadres, and her attention was gradually decreasing, so Duo Luo did not recognize who the other party was for a while. However, the pirates of the beasts could not appear here out of thin air to attack them, so there was no doubt about Shaina's identity. Ordinary pirates could not walk up to him and crush his flamethrower with his flames. It's not important, but I'm very upset with you now. This village is innocent, right? When will it be your turn to take care of this kind of thing? If it weren't for you, this kind of thing would never happen. As he said this, he threw the girl in his arms at Shaina. Shaina crushed his flamethrower on one side, and he couldn't free his other hand with the girl in his other hand, so he threw the girl directly at Shaina as a projectile, and raised the flamethrower at the same time. The reason why I want to burn this village is because you pirates have sneaked in. Shaina didn't mean to argue with him. Duo Luo made her very upset. This feeling of indifference to life naturally reminded her of the group of people in the laboratory. After raising her hand to catch the girl he threw out, Shaina opened her mouth slightly and spit out a flame. She was not a special attack player, but the jet of flame she released forced Doro's flame back. While Doro's clothes were ignited, his fuel tank was also detonated. Although there was a safety device at the muzzle, there was no such thing behind it. Doro, who was ignited, understood the pain of those who were burned before, and then the fuel tank was ignited, and then the explosion occurred. When Shaina appeared with the flames, the few confidants around Doro began to run away because of fear, but they were not affected by the explosion. Shaina did not chase them, because the other pirates of the beasts who broke through the outer encirclement had appeared in front of them. They attacked those pirates with the purpose of breaking through from the beginning. They were led by only a captain, and could not stop the pirates of the beasts at all. In the battle, those navy were quickly killed, and the leader came to Shaina. Big sister, are you in any trouble? It's okay. Have you eliminated all the navy outside? Well, there are too many of them. Many of them should have been evacuated. Forget it, the supply is over, right? There is nothing needed on this island. Let's put out the fire here and retreat. Since they were not all eliminated, it means that the news has spread. There are many more navy stationed in the first half of the Grand Line than in the New World. In order to reduce trouble, she gave instructions to retreat after putting out the fire. Because of the passage opened by Shaina earlier, many villagers successfully escaped. After seeing someone putting out the fire, they returned to the village and joined the firefighting. It took them a lot of effort to extinguish the flames mixed with accelerants. Based on the principle of being a good person to the end, they treated the wounds of some burned people and then left the island. However, something wrong happened the next day. Why is this little girl on the boat? Chapter 339 Iska in the Steel Slab. The Beast's pirates have a strange tradition. People who go out often pick up a few children, especially Kaido, who often does this kind of thing. Although she brought back a set last time, it was for a special reason. This time she was not interested in picking up a child. But when she was doing morning exercises the next day, she found a little girl on the deck. Emmeline, explain to me what is going on. Emmeline is the giver on her ship, the owner of the leaf blade ability, and one of her direct subordinates. She is responsible for some small things on the ship. Short blonde hair and slightly cool Viking pirate style clothing are also what most of the Beast's members wear. This big sister, didn't you ask us to treat her yesterday? I asked you to treat her, not to bring her on board. Looking at the bandage on her right hand, Shaina saw that Emmeline had followed the order and even tied a bow on the bandage, but this had nothing to do with her appearance on the ship. Well, her parents died in the fire yesterday, and there seems to be no relatives in the village. And this little girl seems to want to follow us, so I brought her up. Otherwise, how about we send her back? Forget it, we are already here, but does this little girl really want to follow us? Big sister, why don't you wait until she wakes up and ask her yourself? When I got up last night, I saw the little girl secretly crying. I guess she didn't sleep well. The slightly red and swollen eyes have already explained her situation last night. Hearing this, Shaina didn't say anything, but just motioned Emmeline to continue doing her own things. She also went back to the room and hit the wooden pile, or the stone pile. That thing is a training prop made of sea stone. The solidity is more suitable for her training, and it can better detain some people with special abilities. In the ups and downs of the waves, the little girl with dark orange hair woke up. Her name is Iska, a survivor of the fire. If the development of the original timeline is followed, she will be the only survivor in the village. Doro will take her away. When she grows up, she will join the navy, become an ailman, and get to know Ace. However, because of Shaina's appearance, there are many more survivors in the village, but she still became an orphan. As for Doro, he can no longer become a vice admiral, but he has become a colonel. Iska, who just woke up, heard some curses from the pirates on the ship. These guys are really shameless. It was obviously the navy that set the fire. How did it become ours? That's right. And who is this Doro? He bravely fought against the Beast's pirates and unfortunately died, and was posthumously awarded the rank of colonel? Is that guy worthy of fighting with the big sister? I think I can handle him. That was the unhappy voice of the pirates on the ship, after seeing the newspaper delivered by the newsbird. After those navy chose to retreat, they reported the news, but only he and a few of his confidants knew what Doro did. Those people died in the battle last night. The rest of the navy thought that Doro was really fighting against the pirates, and they didn't know that there were civilians among the targets they shot. The navy published the report without any investigation, but even if they knew the truth, the dead Doro could only be a brave sailor, not a madman who burned civilians. The navy did something worse than some pirates, and it would be a great shame if it got out. Big sister, that little girl is awake. Little guy, what's your name? Uncle has some candy here, do you want some? These pirates are relatively kind to children. Based on past experience, who knows what role this little girl will play in the future. Most of the children who were picked up in the past became cadres or cadre reserves. Even the few that Olga bought became roles such as butlers or scientific research assistants. The only exception may be Robin, but although she has little relationship with the beasts, she has become a close friend of their eldest daughter. Now this little girl looks ordinary, but her future is also a question mark. There is no loss in building a good relationship now. Iska. These overly enthusiastic pirates frightened her, and a wave hit her, causing her to fall directly onto the deck. However, before she landed, a wing picked her up, and then she was caught by Shaina. Iska, right? Emmeline said you wanted to get on the ship by yourself. Because you saved me. It wasn't me who saved you, but your parents. They gave you a chance with their lives. That was what Iska's neighbor saw. Because the fire was put out in time, her neighbor was seriously injured but still alive. He saw the scene of Iska's parents pushing her out, and later told some people about it, and finally it reached Shaina's ears. But you knocked down the arsonist. She woke up just when Doro threw her out, so she saw the scene of Shaina catching her, and heard Doro's words. This is a pirate ship. Do you know what a pirate is? The pirates robbed your village before. We are not messengers of justice. Little guy, don't follow the wrong people. The pirates were really robbing, and many people hid in the house, which led to the fire, and caused greater casualties. In Shaina's view, Asuka's life trajectory had nothing to do with pirates, so she said that, you are different. I want the power to avenge my parents, and I want to save others. It's up to you, but this road is very hard, and you may not be able to bear it. I'm fine. I'm already 5 years old this year. When Shaina just started to return, Arceus had already returned to Onigashima. The route he was searching for was a brand new route back to Onigashima, and he just set foot on Onigashima when he heard a scream. Seeing that the roof of Onigashima seemed to be on fire, he felt that he had discovered the truth of the matter. When he came here, he happened to see the 3 people lying dead. Kaido, what are you doing? Oh, it's just ability training. This girl Yamato can already use freezing air stably. The training is very effective. Kaido's training method is definitely quick. After all, if he can't use freezing air, he will be burned. Although the fruit of the tree is very effective in treating burns, it will still hurt. There is no need to speak. He has already seen the word holiday from Yamato's eyes. Let's stop here today. I see that you haven't given them any rest during this period. By the way, Jack, come with me, and you can get your ability. The attribute of the newly found stone slab is steel, and combined with Jack's own preference, the King Bronze Elephant has become an ability prepared for him. Chapter 340, The King Bronze Elephant and Jack who sinks to the bottom. Kaido did not leave them any time to rest during this period. According to Kaido's theory, they had rested enough during his absence, which was an act of overdrawing their vacation in advance. So they spent this period of time almost in the burning of flames. In order to control the power and range of the flames, Kaido even transferred King Yanwu and recruited Kagero's dog. Let Zyoka turn from a comfortable harem life to a working dog again. The caiman and ordinary animals reproduce slowly, but Kagero's dog guard has begun to be established. The most common dog breed is Akita Inu. They are slightly better than ordinary dogs in physical fitness, sense of smell, and intelligence. Very few individuals can occasionally spit out some black smoke or flames, but the proportion is very low. Now Arceus is back, and they have a long lost vacation again. In a sense, human potential is unlimited. The originally weak Yamato quickly recovered his physical strength under the dual blessing of the Super Newcomer and the Big Mouth True God. Soon she had the strength to get up again, but this planted a disaster for her. Although Kaido stopped training, his eyes were still looking here. This girl's recovery ability is faster than I thought. It seems that the training intensity can be increased a little more. After moving his wrist, Kaido looked at the assistant coach Yan Wu Wang. Come on, little guy, let's practice together. There are not many people who can call Yan Wu Wang a little guy. Kaido is one of them, but Kaido's words made Yan Wu Wang confused. Wow. It was obviously here to help, but it seemed to have become the victim in the end. Godfather, why did you take so long this time? I just visited a few more islands on the way, but I think you're doing pretty well. No. Father has all kinds of strange ideas every day. If you don't come back, you may never see me again. That guy still has some sense. Go take a shower first. You're so dirty? That's because of father's training. Yamato began to accuse Kaido of what he did. In addition to the most basic training and previous intensive training, her subjects also include the control of her own abilities and resistance to fire. She also has to practice with Setsuna. Because the main body of the Great Mouth True God is still a wolf, the human beast form is the same as that of a werewolf. As a wolf Setsuna is more familiar with how to fight with a werewolf's body. Lucario makes up for her weakness in close combat and even allows her to develop the use of Wava Guide arrows. Now, except for the special Seaston arrows, ordinary arrows have been abandoned. She is not as strong as Kaido, but she has a more unique understanding of the weaknesses and advantages of werewolves. Although Setsuna's special training was not that difficult, when combined with Kaido's training, it was a terrifying amount of training. Go ahead, you can rest for the rest of today, and let you rest tomorrow as well. I'll go prepare Jack's abilities first, and you and Mirai go clean yourself up. Long live. No student would dislike having too many holidays, especially when the teacher's name is Kaido. Yamato and Mariah walked into the Kaido bathroom on the top floor, while Jack was taken directly to the seaside of Onigashima. Originally, your abilities had to wait, but Manderfish accelerated the process. Arceus was referring to the iron slab. There were not many elephant type of caiman, and many of them just looked similar, essentially just pigs. The data of the Great King Bronze Elephant was not very good, but the body resistance composed of bronze was much stronger than that of flesh and blood creatures. Jack's development path had been gradually explored, and he was obviously a defensive fighter. His own speed was not superior, but his endurance and strength were excellent. Defense and counterattack were his main fighting methods, and the huge power contained in the trunk of the Great King Bronze Elephant was also very suitable for Jack's fighting style. With that nose, the King Bronze Elephant and the giant rock monster have always been good helpers in the human minds. Compared with ordinary elephants, the King Bronze Elephant's nose is wider, and the front bucket-like structure can play many unique roles. Jack also likes elephants very much. The only flaw is that the King Bronze Elephant's tusks are a little short, but after polishing, it can be used as a sharp weapon. Brother Manderfish? Because Manderfish has similar abilities to the fishman, he gets along very well with Jack. Excluding the admiration and respect caused by strength, Jack has the deepest feelings for Manderfish. Okay, get ready to accept your abilities. After the steel slab returned to the body, it showed its power for the first time. The data gene belonging to the King Bronze Elephant began to enter Jack's body, transforming his original body bit by bit. When the transformation was completed, Jack's height also grew slightly. Feel it, right? If you trigger that power, and accept its changes, the power will be used. I see. Jack's body changed as he spoke. The bronze color covered his skin, and it was inlaid with something that looked like copper rust. That part contributed to the pattern on the body of the King Bronze Elephant. The Bronze Elephant man wrapped in heavy armor appeared in front of Arceus. The collision of his fists made a metallic collision sound, and even the ground under his feet sank a few centimeters. Jack, try to get in the water. This was the reason why he brought Jack to the beach. The King Bronze Elephant was not afraid of water, and the bronze skin on his body was even very resistant to water. But there was another problem. It was too heavy. Although it was not afraid of water, it was unknown what state it would be in after going into the sea. This was the reason why he brought Jack to the beach. For the fishman, swimming was as simple as breathing, but Jack, who went into the water with his ability, had a problem. Although he could still float on the water, it was much more difficult than normal. Lord Arceus, I can still swim, but it's a little strenuous. Try changing to beast form. As you command. Jack in the water changed his form, becoming a complete bronze elephant, and then he sank to the bottom. Although he could walk and move without losing strength, he couldn't float. This was exactly the opposite of Manderfish. He could only move underwater by using his abilities. The fish form swam the fastest, and Jack could still swim in the human beast form, but the beast form would sink directly to the bottom. However, the racial talent of the fishman made him not care much about this. In fact, this could better carry out his bottom diving tactics. He was still young now, and when he grew up, his transformed form would become larger. At that time, a metal giant elephant weighing more than 10 tons would entangle the enemy underwater. This would be a terrible situation, which would be almost devastating for non-aquatic races. Chapter 341 When someone suspects you have a deadly weapon, you better actually have one. Women generally take longer to shower than men, but this does not apply to Yamato. She came out of the bathroom in less than 10 minutes, including the time to put on her clothes. Mariah's expression shows that she feels that she has not washed herself clean, but she is helpless under Yamato's pulling. Godfather, where is Jack? The white, green, and blue gradient hair was wet and hung behind his head and was simply tied up with a leather strap. This hair color made Arceus suspicious at first. After all, Kaido's hair is pure black. Especially after meeting Kazuki Toki, some parts of their hair color are a little similar. If it weren't for the wrong time, Arceus would have suspected that Kaido had some kind of relationship with Kazuki Toki during the time he disappeared. Dry your hair, at least wrap it with a towel. I should have told you. It's too troublesome, and I'm in good health, no problem. Most people cannot escape the torture of illness. Even strong men like Whitebird and Roger can't avoid illness. But for Yamato's physique, ordinary diseases are probably not a match for her immune system. No means no. Forget it this time. If I see you again, go and continue practicing with your father. As he spoke, a gust of hot air was released, drying her hair under control. Mariah also felt the same feeling under Yamato's light. Don't you have a rotten hair dryer? Remember to blow dry it next time. I know, Godfather, but where is Jack? There. Arceus gestured in the direction of the sea surface, and a series of bubbles were emerging, which was just the proof of Jack's existence. Then a nose first stretched out from the bottom of the sea, and rested on the shore. Jack in the elephant man state climbed out of the water. According to the original timeline, the human beast form of the mammoth fruit ability is similar to Mariah's form, belonging to a half-human elephant, but that form is most likely the result of Quinn's potion improvement. Devil fruit ability users can be transformed in this way, but pure Pokemon ability users cannot, so Jack's human beast form is the same elephant man as most ability users. It's pretty cool. It's really the power of my foster father. Yamato knocked on Jack and expressed his opinion after listening to the muffled sound of metal. But this body, will it make Mr. Kaido fight harder? Mariah on the side, poured cold water on Jack. Due to his development direction of defensive warfare, the main way of training is to be beaten. According to Kaido's weird theory of teaching students in accordance with their aptitude, Jack suddenly felt that his future was a bit bleak. It's okay. Anyway, I'll be exhausted anyway. There's no difference at all. At this time, Yamato was open-minded and said a theory that people couldn't refute. In short, it was absolutely impossible to relax under Kaido's training. By the way, foster father, the newspaper said that you and your father destroyed the entire Sakail. Yes, the kingdom of Sakail. Is it true? After Jack accepted the cruel reality that was about to come, Yamato asked this question to Arceus, but she seemed to have forgotten the complicated name of the country, and Mariah reminded her. As for whether the name of the country is complicated or not, it is quite complicated for her anyway. No, it's just that the capital and the king were destroyed. They touched something they shouldn't have touched. This is the inevitable price. This is also the reason why Ohara was destroyed. You don't have the corresponding power, but you touched something you shouldn't have touched. The second half of the sentence was obviously not said to Yamato, but to Robin. The extra rear in the blind spot of his vision could not escape his perception. Come out, there's no need to hide. If you have anything to ask, you can ask it in person. Unless he saw something strange in person, Yamato would not take the initiative to ask this question. Over the years, they have established such absolute trust. This is not surprising. Any normal parents will not doubt their children, even if they are not their own children. This is obviously for others. The flower fruit is indeed convenient for eavesdropping. As her ability increases, she can collect the information she wants through the extended limbs, even if she stays still. Not long after, Robin came over. It seems that Yamato told her about this while taking a bath. She promised to ask for Robin and she must do it. As for why he didn't ask Kaido who came back first, Kaido didn't bother to answer such questions. Even if he answered, it would probably be something like, it's destroyed, so what's the point of caring, they are too weak. So Yamato chose to wait for Arceus to come back. Although the information in the newspaper is not all true, your concern about this issue should be related to the original demon killing order. That's right. You obviously govern this country very well, but you are so. I didn't have to answer your question, but Yamato treats you as a friend, so I'll say a few more words to you. Everyone has their own taboos, and they touched my biggest taboo. As he said that, he showed a stone tablet in front of Robin. The archaeologists of Ohara have seen the picture of the stone tablet. Ohara's identity destined them to not be able to go the same way as the world government, so they didn't have any scruples in this regard. No matter what the reason is, anyone who tries to take possession of my slate is guilty of an unforgivable crime. Similarly, if you can find me information about it, you can also get a lot of things. I never hurt innocent people. The civilians of that country had plenty of time to evacuate. It's just that the Navy made up some things. You know this. At the beginning, all of you in Ohara were lunatics who wanted to destroy the world. We obviously don't have it. This is a deformed world. When others suspect that you have weapons to destroy the world, you'd better really have them. I heard that you were a scholar at the age of 8, so you should understand this principle. Compared with the endless escape career, Robin's mentality grew a little slower, but she still understood the most basic principles. You explore history, but who can guarantee that the history left over 800 years ago must be the truth? History is written by the victor, and there are still many things you need to explore. Then Arceus left here first. He had other things to do, but this also confirmed Robin's other idea. She wanted to explore the truth of the world and wanted to know what happened in the distant past. But she didn't have much time to think about this problem and was soon pulled away by Yamato. Let's go, Robin. I've given you the answer. It's time to go out and have fun. You finally have a vacation. Huh. Let's talk about the future later. What can you do if you go out now? Chapter 342. Magical Modified Sword Scabbard. Nico Robin was pulled away by Yamato and the others, while Arceus returned to the roof of Onigashima again. Kaido was being beaten. It was not that King Yanwu could suppress him, but that he was being beaten on purpose. Increase the firepower a little more. This is not enough. Kaido in the flames seemed to be steaming in a sauna and asked King Yanwu to increase the firepower. His domineering spirit was also in the process of constant tempering. Sometimes he also needed to be beaten, which was also the reason why he went out to die every day. However, this frequency is decreasing. Although there are occasional news about Kaido and someone going to war, being captured has not happened again in the past few years. Relying on one hand to defend, he almost earned the reputation of being uninjured. There are almost no obvious scars on his body. He is ranked as the strongest body together with Charlotte Linlin's Steel Balloon, and the title of the strongest creature is gradually emerging. As Arceus's power gradually increases, Kaido has a better way to temper his body. It is quite painful for the goblin plus dragon to hit Kaido. Didn't you go play with that girl? Just let the kids play by themselves. Where are Odin's 2 swords? They're in the treasure house. They're probably covered in dust. After Kazuki Odin's death, Enma and American English Habakiri naturally became the spoils of the beasts, but there were no pure swordsmen among the beasts. Kaido and Yamato used maces, and although Jin used a sword, it was a modified shark tooth sword. Although Kojiro used a sword, American English Habakiri was too short for his physique and style, and the same was true for Enma. Moreover, given his physical fitness, Enma would probably suck him dry. Enma and American English Habakiri were both large and sharp swords of the 21st level, so it would be a waste to destroy them directly. Now that the iron slab has returned, Arceus has a new idea about the 2 swords. The Kamen is not limited to animals and plants. As the most magical species, metal objects are also one of them. With the return of the iron slab, Enma and American English Habakiri also have a chance to see the light of day again. Rotom, where are the 2 swords? Enma and Haniki no Habakiri? Arceus asked the Rotoms in the underground treasure house of the beasts. In addition to the Rotoms who were guarding the electronic door, there were also special Rotoms who were warehouse keepers. After searching the electronic system, it determined the locations of Enma and Haniki no Habakiri. Computers and other things are common on some future islands. They can be used on islands with electricity, but there is no internet here, so the limitations of electronic computers are a bit greater, but it is more than enough to save the list of goods. Lotto, please wait a moment. Rotom, who received the order, immediately entered the body of a small robot with a mechanical arm next to him, and then brought out Enma and Haniki no Habakiri at the corresponding positions. It was not as exaggerated as Kaido said about the dust falling. Rotom would clean here every day, and they were even able to maintain the swords. Lotto, your excellency has brought the things you requested. Is there anything else you need? Lotto? No, let's continue working. Then his own power took over Yanemo and Shinu Yuzan. The power of the steel slab flowed into the 2 swords, and new life was injected into the metal objects. The overall image of the 2 swords did not change much, but there was an eye at the position of the handle guard. The 2 swords that originally relied on Arceus to float in the sky also began to float independently. Single scabbard Yanemo version. Single scabbard Shinuyu's inversion compared with the rock type Pokemon in the Seaston form. These two are more like special individuals that are difficult to replicate, but this time there seems to be a problem child in the Pokemon. Yanemo was very active when he was just born, and he didn't seem to be very obedient, but when Arceus's pressure swept over, it could no longer be majestic. That was the irresistible breath from the creator. Unless Arceus falls into a violent state of world destruction, he has absolute control over the first generation he created, which is no less than Charlotte Linlin's control over homies. Their master used to be Kazuki Oden, but the owner is not absolute Four Swords. With the death of Kazuki Oden, they have made new arrangements. The purpose of creating two single sword sheaths is to free Jin, who is the general's personal assistant, and give him two reliable assistants. The single sword sheath can absorb human life, but that is controllable. For them, souls are a snack, not a necessity. This can be curbed under orders. The treasures and fruits that steel and ghost types like can be used as substitutes. At most, there are still death row prisoners and Charlotte Linlin. Given the current relationship between the two parties, it is not difficult to get some extracted souls from her. That kind of thing is a special tax in Totland. The appearance of the unique sword sheath also held a special ceremony in Wano country to give Kaido a wave of reputation. Kaido, the protector of the country, found the lost weapon of Kazuki Oden and handed it to the current general Kazuki Hiyori. However, Kazuki Hiyori did not have the talent for a knife rack. She could not use the unique sword sheaths of Yama and Shinuyuhazan, so she just put them on the table in the general's room. There are two types of Pokemon with ghost attributes. One can't stand loneliness and always wants to play pranks, and the other can be very patient. These two unique sword sheaths belong to the latter, so they are just left in the room as a special backup. The two swords touched many people deeply, especially the remaining three retainers of Oden. They had a lot of thoughts when looking at the weapons of their former lord, but they didn't expect that the beasts would actually give the weapons to Kazuki Hiyori. Even Kikunojo's request to teach Kazuki Hiyori martial arts was passed. In Jin's opinion, they couldn't make any waves at all. And in places they didn't notice, Yanemo and Shinuyuhazan also opened their eyes. While Kazuki Hiyori was learning, they were also absorbing the skills. At this time, the versatile Quinn reached his favorite moment, the time to harvest bananas. Although bananas look like trees, they are herbaceous plants. Whenever they are harvested, the original plants can be directly cut down, and then wait for the new plants to grow. The bananas improved by tropical dragons mature in half a year. In addition, due to the different planting batches, new bananas can be harvested almost every once in a while. The island climate meets the climate environment required for their growth. Quinn walked towards his plantation with great interest. The plants here are not the type of large-scale planting, but new varieties he cultivated. However, when he arrived here, he had an ominous premonition, because he saw a row of footprints on the ground. Chapter 343 Quinn's Good Fridge. This is his secret plantation. The planting area is very small. It is mainly for mass production experiments of crops in the laboratory, and for him to cultivate some food to satisfy his appetite. Although the tropical dragon banana has expanded its planting scale after his cultivation, the gap with the original version is still very large. As a sweet party foodie, Quinn has not given up research in this area. Although the original version on his chin has reached 3 ripenings a year relying on the harvesting characteristics, this does not satisfy him. On average, he can't even do 1 banana a month, so he took the time to make the plants here. Whether it is soil, fertilizer, or climate, everything here is superior to the plantations outside. According to theoretical data, the degree of reproduction here will be higher. It is now August in 1502, which is the hottest time in Wano country, and his bananas are just ripe. Today, Yamato and the others are on holiday, and he doesn't have to go to class. CP0 has also stopped. He slept a little longer than usual without being disturbed by the ammonite. When he was about to pick bananas, the footprints on the ground gave him a bad feeling. A pair of clogs, a large footprint, 3 women and 1 man. This combination, the shape and depth of the footprints, can roughly estimate the gender and age, but there may be a large error in this world. These small footprints look more like 4 children. Children from Wano country will never run here. He has a flag outside, so most of the people who come here are from the Beast's pirates. There are almost no people in the Beasts who wear clogs. Yamato also wears other more suitable shoes under the care of Arceus. Only Mariah wears clogs, because she is a native local and her mother is also from Wano country. The 4-person group with Mariah. Quinn's bad premonition in his heart became stronger and stronger, and then he trotted into the location of the plantation. Sure enough, he saw Yamato and the others here, as well as the banana trees that had become bare. At the same time, he also heard devilish remarks. Yamato, is it okay for us to do this? These bananas should be planted by others. It's okay. The banana plantation is not here, but on the other side. These should be the leftovers after the transplantation. You see there is no one around, so they must be unwanted. Let's not waste them. But the taste here is better than outside. Is it because they are just ripe? Naturally ripened bananas are much more delicious than bananas that are picked in advance and then ripened by themselves. However, even if the tropical dragon version of bananas has a longer shelf life, there is no way to wait for it to ripen naturally. It still needs to be picked in advance for transportation. Only people who live near the place of origin can experience the taste of natural ripening. No, I think the bananas here are sweeter than those outside. Jack also made his own comments, and when these comments reached Quinn's ears, he felt like a knife stabbing himself. Hey, Uncle Quinn, why are you here? This is my plantation. I should be the one asking you this question. There are many emotions hidden in Quinn's words: loss, anger, helplessness. If it is an outsider, he must throw the person to the mindful laborer form, but the problem is that he seems to be unable to move the people here. The leader was Yamato. It was just a matter of a few bananas. He was angry because of this, and it might be him who was mining. He felt like someone had eaten his graduation project as an agricultural student, but that person was the principal's daughter. Did you eat it all? This was his experimental field. There were not many plants planted, and Quinn was also clear about their appetite. Mariah and Robin were still within the range of normal humans. Mariah ate more due to physical consumption, but it was also within the normal range. However, Jack and Yamato were different, especially Yamato. The huge consumption required more food to meet the needs of the body. His experimental seedlings might not be enough for the other party to eat. No, there is one left over there. Uncle Quinn, why are you crying? Nothing. The sun is a little dazzling. Before Yamato and the others could ask why he was stabbed in the eyes by the sun with sunglasses, Quinn carried the 4 of them out of the plantation. The things planted here are very important. Don't come here casually in the future. He closed the door directly, but Yamato seemed to hear some wailing. Did we do something wrong? I don't think so, otherwise Uncle Quinn would have told us directly. But he doesn't seem to want us to stay here any longer. Let's go to another place. We only have half a day left in our vacation. When the little ones were moving, Quinn looked at the last remaining seedling and didn't know what to say. According to his plan, he could have had a good meal, but now he could only taste it. It would take at least a few months to harvest the next batch. Newspaper news always spreads faster than people. Although Arceus has returned to Onigashima, several other ships are still exploring or on their way back. For example, Shaina has already embarked on her return journey. However, her bounty order came back first. A mysterious military photographer took a picture of Shaina walking out of the sea of fire with the flames. The dim background and her mask made him look like a hellish devil. Doro became a navy who died heroically in the fight against pirates, and Shaina naturally became the devil. Moreover, after the appearance of the Sea Emperor that Morgan's hyped up earlier, the bounties of the pirates under the command of the 3 major pirate groups also rose to a certain extent. Flammable at Shaina, bounty of 580 million baileys. Massacre of the village, attacking the navy fleet, a member of the 100 beasts. The triple blessing made her bounty directly reach this amount, and even her title was changed. I can't recognize this bounty order as Sister Shaina. Looking at the bounty order newly issued with the newspaper, Yamato looked at it for a long time and couldn't recognize that it was Shaina. It's still a little similar, but why is there no news about Brother Manderfish? At this time, Robin had already returned to Sky Island, leaving only the 3 of them here, and Jack asked Yamato a question while caring about Manderfish. Yamato, why do you only call Quinn uncle? Obviously they are all of the same generation. Well, because Uncle Quinn looks old. When Jack was thinking about why there was no news about Manderfish also began to prepare to return, but they encountered some interesting things in the paradise. Perelman, who is that guy? He looks quite capable. Wait, boss, he must be a new guy. Chapter 344 Brother, when will you evolve? Unless they are robots like pacifists, whose mechanical chips store all the information of pirates, the Navy will have to slowly look for the bounty order when they see pirates. Pirates are not dictionaries. Sometimes those unknown pirates cannot be found at all, except for those old-fashioned pirates, who have been famous for a long time and supernovas in recent years. No one can always call out their names. However, pirates are not famous, only when they arrive in the Sabaody archipelago. In addition to the pirates who live in the Grand Line, more pirates come from the Four Seas. After all, the area of the Grand Line is somewhat insignificant compared to the Four Seas. Many pirates have already gained a certain reputation before entering the Grand Line. Although Morgan's newspapers often exaggerate the facts and are mixed with a lot of fictional things, the essence of the matter must be true, such as the published incident of the Kingdom of Sikael. There are problems with the scope and details, but part of it was indeed destroyed by the beasts. Therefore, reading newspapers is the best way for pirates to understand the outside world. Morgan's is very independent, and some news that the world government wants to suppress will also be reported by him. The mobile headquarters and his reputation in the news industry made it difficult for the world government to deal with him. The World Economic News Agency was routed all over the world. If Morgan's was assassinated, the subsequent impact would be even more troublesome. Even the boss of the newspaper was silenced, and the impact was very troublesome. Morgan's did not report everything. Sometimes the world government would also use his newsbird group, so a relatively stalemate was formed. The reason why Manderfish said it was interesting was because of the duck-headed pirate ship in front of him that looked like a park cruise ship. Their pirate flag was also very special. Unlike ordinary pirate flags, there were almost no pirate element on it. Behind the duck head wearing a chef's hat was a set of knives and forks crossed. It was just because the pirate culture was prevalent. Any flag with a crossed object behind the pattern, whether it was a black background or not, was assumed to be a pirate flag here, so Manderfish insisted that it was a pirate ship. Point found it. Brother Manderfish, the chef pirates, the captain is red-footed Zeph, a newcomer from the East China Sea, and the bounty is 20 million, which is considered a good newcomer. After all, he is from the East China Sea. After Roger's death, there have been no powerful pirates in the East China Sea during this period of time. After all, there is a Garp who goes home for a stroll at any time. Although Luffy has not been born yet, it does not affect his periodic return to his hometown. The full-level big account visits the novice village, and the pirates he encounters are basically strangled in the bud. The news in the newspaper was not long ago. They should have just entered the Grand Line, but we have walked far enough. We are not far from the Upside Down Mountain. The Chef Pirates, an interesting name. Their captain can't be a cook. Well, boss, you guessed it right. He really is a cook. Some captains of pirate ships have part-time jobs, such as snipers, musicians, and navigators. The Chef Pirates are one of the few pirate groups whose captains serve as chefs. The title of Red-Footed Zeph is because of his excellent kicking skills. The enemy's blood stained his boots red, so he got this title. However, he is not the owner of the restaurant on the sea yet. Although his dream is to find the legendary All Blue, a magical sea where all the fish in the four seas live, even his subordinates do not believe it. He himself lives the life of an ordinary pirate, robbing passing ships, but Zeph only robs money and does not touch water and food. Manderfish is interested in him not because he tried to rob Manderfish's ship. The interesting duck boat is one of the reasons. Another reason is that Zeph is fighting some monsters in the sea at this time. And those monsters are very familiar to Manderfish. The blue figure is the Gyarados distributed in the four seas. Many years have passed, and it is unknown how many generations of Magikarp these Gyarados have evolved from. Their reproduction speed is quite fast. Even the giant Magikarp near Wano country has several generations of offspring. Because of the dangers of the sea, Magikarp have also undergone some changes in order to adapt to the local environment, such as evolving the habit of living in groups. Although they are not delicious, some large sea beasts still use them to supplement calcium, and bones are also a kind of food for those sea beasts. In order to survive better, these Magikarp that have been reproduced even began to huddle together for warmth like weaklings, and this living habit also led to another situation. That is, the evolved Gyarados did not leave the Magikarp tribe directly, but led its own tribe to live in the sea like a lion. The evolution of ordinary Magikarp will cause changes in the brain and make it irritable, but the Gyarados that evolved in these seas, although its personality is also irritable, still has some rationality. Brother Mandafesh, that's Gyarados, when will you evolve to show us? Yes, Lord Arceus has given you power for a long time. What can you evolve to? Get out. Haven't I been training hard? Who will practice with me today? Hearing the jokes of his subordinates, Mandafesh also acted angry, but no one was afraid. They knew that Mandafesh was just pretending. As for the evolution, Mandafesh was also helpless. He felt the power, but he always felt that something was missing. By the way, boss, do you want to help that ship? Help them for what? If he can reach the new world, I don't mind recruiting him, but now I'm not interested. Guys, let's go back. Kaido's expansion of the beasts was not all done by Kaido alone. Anyone recognized by several cadres could be recruited, but they had to report to Onigashima afterwards. Mandafesh's ship began to return, and the experience of the chef pirates was not so pleasant. Not long ago, they rushed into the Grand Line with full confidence, moving towards the so-called dream, but they were hit hard by reality just a few days after they arrived here. A man caught a Magikarp while fishing, and then almost broke the blade of his kitchen knife, and failed to cook the other party. In the end, he threw it back into the sea, but soon after that, they encountered an attack from the sea monster from the New World. This is the revenge of Gyarados. If you catch a group without Gyarados, it's fine. But if you catch a group with Gyarados, this is usually the end. Zeph's luck is not that bad. At least the Gyarados is not of high level, and the main fighting method is still hand-to-hand combat. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 345, Gyarados' greetings to the newcomers. But even so, Zeph was in a tough fight. Shoot. What kind of monster is this? The pirates of the chef pirates fired bullets at the Gyarados, but the flintlock bullets were extremely powerless against the curved armor of the Gyarados. The scales inherited from the Magikarp and its curvature were like sloped armor, making these old-fashioned muskets ineffective. Survival of the fittest. This is the law of nature. The descendants of the first generation of Magikarp marched to every sea area according to Arceus' orders, and then multiplied in different sea areas. The marine environment different from that of the Pokémon world allowed them to evolve a new group consciousness. There were almost no Pokémon that fed on Magikarp, but these sea beasts, sea kings and various strange fish were different. Some fish even became the natural enemies of Magikarp. This Gyarados was carrying out its own revenge. As more and more offspring were reproduced, the genetic genes in their bones were almost only left with the pilgrimage link. At certain times of the year, groups of Gyarados will lead Magikarp to the New World. Some biologists have begun to study this newly discovered strange fish. However, no one has come up with any results so far, and that result has nothing to do with Zeph. As Gyarados dives into the water again, he becomes even more panicked. Turn the rudder. Turn the rudder with all your strength. It's coming. The only purpose of the Gyarados diving is to attack the ship from below in order to overturn the ship. Zeph knows very well that once they fall into the water, they can only let the monster slaughter them. Fortunately, their chef George is more flexible. Because of its low level, this Gyarados lacks the strength to directly overturn the ship, so it needs to dive to leave a sprint distance, which leaves them a certain amount of preparation time. Captain, the Grand Line is too dangerous. Let's go back. The Gyarados entering the water from the side scared some people. They didn't expect the creatures on the Grand Line to be so dangerous. Stupid, before you say such stupid things, think about how to deal with this monster first. Zeph jumped up from the deck and kicked Gyarados just below the chest after it rushed out of the water. An ordinary sea beast of this size could not bear his kick at all. After all, his kick was enough to deform steel. But this Gyarados just let out a cry of pain, opened its mouth and bit Zeph again. Isn't it a sea snake? What kind of species is this? Sea beasts also follow some biological characteristics, such as sea dogs prefer bones. Catnip is also useful for sea cats, and Gyarados looks like a mutated sea snake. So Zeph wanted to try to attack the 7 inches, but it didn't work, and their battle seemed to attract other sea beasts. Because of their concern for the tribe, and because Zeph's bone was a bit hard to chew, Gyarados chose to retreat. However, after it dived into the water and left, the people of the chef pirates were still nervous for a long time, before they calmed down. Captain, let's go back. The Grand Line is too scary. Although they had heard that this place was dangerous before, the appetizer of Gyarados was a little too scary for them. The upside down mountain doesn't have a reverse current. Do you want to try crossing the calm belt now? There are bigger and more terrifying sea kings in it. The strong current of the upside down mountain made these wind-powered ships helpless. In theory, it would not be a problem to go upstream if the power was strong enough, but their chef George obviously did not have this ability. This is just the first level. Keep sailing and think positively. Maybe that is the biggest danger. This sentence was of course just to comfort people. It had just been a short time since they arrived here. Just one difficulty would not make Zeph retreat, but he also took out his little notebook and began to record his sailing experience. In early October 1502, Mandafesh's ship arrived at the Sabaody archipelago again, and the Sabaody branch of the beast fruit had also brought in coating craftsmen. They didn't trust the skills of other craftsmen, so they sent some of their own people to learn the coating techniques. This is a life-threatening matter and cannot be taken lightly. Among the beast's pirates, only Arceus and Kaido can fly over the Red Earth continent. Others can only fly over with a part of the people, and the rest of the ships still have to go underwater. However, there are no people with special abilities on Mandafesh's ship, so there are fewer concerns about launching into the water. Be careful, don't rush. Don't worry, Lord Mandafesh, they are all skilled workers, and you know our inspection system. No one knows what the effect of the coating will be before it is launched into the water, and the beasts also have a large number of bases in the New World, where there are also coating craftsmen. These craftsmen are rotated. Whenever a ship is coated, half of the craftsmen will change their working positions with the ship. They may not care about the lives of others, but when it comes to their own safety, they will not be careless anyway, and they are very focused every time they work. During this period, Mandafesh was not idle. He took his men to the Sabaody archipelago to buy a lot of Sabaody specialties, such as great bags and great senbei. This kind of thing is quite popular in Onigashima. Even if the pirates in the group don't like it, it's also good to use it as a gift to the locals as a prize. Some of these pirates have already started a family in Wano country. Don't dawdle. The coating will be finished in one day. If you go back now, you should be able to catch up with Miss Yamato's birthday party. Brother Mandafesh, you are the most procrastinating one, right? How long have you been standing here? Pearman passed by Mandafesh with 5 boxes of senbei. Mandafesh was here when he went to buy senbei just now. When he came back, he was still there, and he was standing in front of a so-called love chocolate shop. Brother Mandafesh, you are not really interested in that woman, are you? People who sell chocolate often associate their products with love. At this time, the front of the store where Mandafesh stood was covered with similar advertisements. As Mandafesh's deputy, Pearman naturally had enough knowledge of his boss's behavior and guessed some things. That woman is beautiful, but brother, she's already married. I don't care about that kind of thing. Why do you care about it? Get out of here. Mandafesh raised his foot to scare him, and then Pearman fled with the senbei. Mandafesh thought about it and bought some chocolate to take away. This amount of consumption was not worth mentioning to him. The next day, the coated ship began to dive. The uniform bubble texture showed that the coating craftsman was really attentive, but this time Fishman Island was a little different from before. There was a new pirate flag at the entrance. Chapter 346. Fake merman and real merman. Crossed leg bones, white crescent beard. That iconic pattern is the flag of the Whitebird Pirates. As a middle-level cadre of the Beast's pirates, it is impossible for Mandafesh to not recognize Whitebird's flag. This is the biggest change that has taken place in Fishman Island during this period. Whitebird Edward Newgate announced that Fishman Island would be included in his territory. Compared with the so-called membership, Whitebird's flag is more effective. The pirates who made trouble in Fishman Island were liquidated on the day Whitebird arrived. After that, Fishman Island was much calmer than before, but there were still pirates who kidnapped mermaids occasionally. The high price of mermaids starting at 100 million made these people willing to take the risk of offending Whitebird and give it a try. I can't believe that Whitebird would choose to protect Fishman Island. What? Do you look down on Fishman? Listening to the self-talk of a coating craftsman, Mandafesh came behind him. Now, none of the pirates known as the Emperor of the Sea look down on fishermen or mermaids. Jack of the Beasts, the captain and leader of the affiliated pirate group under Whitebird, and Big Mom's husband and daughter all have fishermen or mermaids. The country where all races live together that Charlotte Lin wants to build, the family that Whitebird is looking for, and the combat power that Kaido seeks do not discriminate against this race. Especially the Beast's pirates, which are now the pirate group with the most non-pure-blooded human cadres. But with the continuous development of Charlotte Lin's fertility work, this position is at risk of being overtaken. No, it's just a little curious. After all, protecting Fishman Island is a big project, and it will attract criticism from others. That's the person who is called the Emperor of the Sea together with brother Kaido. If he doesn't even have this responsibility, he doesn't deserve to be called the Emperor of the Sea. After you get on the island, talk less, and don't take the initiative to provoke trouble without the orders of brother Kaido and others. He ordered the sailors to start entering Fishman Island. If they want to return directly to their own territory, they can bypass here. But in addition to some specialties of shampoo, the specialties of Fishman Island are also within his purchase range. Before entering Fishman Island, Mandafesh used his own abilities. There was no difference between his Magikarp's human beast form and that of a fishman, so he could be considered a fishman on Fishman Island. As usual, go shopping and gather at the ship in the evening, Mandafesh said as he carried his things to the Coral Hill in the southeast of Fishman Island. It was a prosperous port town of the Kingdom of Ryugu. Mandafesh did not come here to hang out, but to find someone. Rusalka, are you there? In front of an exquisite building, Mandafesh knocked on the shell door in front of him. After a long time, the door was slowly opened, and a slightly petite silver-tailed mermaid floated out of it. Rusalka, the guppy mermaid, the woman mentioned by Paimon before, was also the target that Mandafesh was pursuing. There was no water in the bubbles on Fishman Island, so the mermaids had to move freely through the bubbles, blown by the bubble coral. A few years ago, Mandafesh fell in love with her at first sight when he was on a mission through Fishman Island. After that, he began to contact her in the form of Magikarp Fishman. She also has some reputation here, but not a good reputation. It is rumored that, if you fall in love with her, you will encounter misfortune. It is not very accurate for Paimon to say that she was married, because the male mermaid was attacked by a sea beast on the wedding day and unfortunately died. Later, a mermaid who pursued her also died in a battle with human pirates. Since then, some strange rumors have been spread, and she herself asked Charlie when she was a child to tell her fortune. The future is not bright. Since then, she has been alone. The rumors spread more and more, so she has no other suitors, until Mandafesh appeared here a few years ago. Why are you here again? Of course I came to see you. This is the Great Senbei and Chocolate of Champati. There are also some books here. The material is a special moisture-proof and waterproof material. It should be able to be kept for a long time. Mandafesh took out the things he had prepared in his package, all of which were carefully prepared gifts. It's not a valuable thing, just accept it. Last time I saw that you like reading books, but I don't know what you like to read, so I just got some. Paper books are rare in Fishman Island. Not only are they difficult to transport, but they are also difficult to preserve. In this deep sea, ordinary paper will rot soon, so these are all customized by Mandafesh. As for which books to customize, he even did some experiments with Jack. Although Jack grew up in human society, he felt that Jack's nature should be similar to that of mermaids. Didn't I tell you last time that you will encounter misfortune if you stay in touch with me for a long time? Aren't you afraid? No, I've always had good luck. I just got a big treasure not long ago. By the way, I may change my color in a while, so don't fail to recognize me. In order to prevent the other party from not recognizing him after his evolution, Manderfresh specially greeted him. Although this was a bit strange, Rusalka didn't think there was anything wrong with it. Fishmen or mermaids are closely related to their species, and seasonal color changes are also possible. Then they entered a stage of forced awkward conversation. Rusalka neither drove him away, nor took the initiative to extend the topic. In short, she continued to talk about whatever Manfish said, and she would not talk if Manfish did not say anything. This was because of her strange curse, and she rarely communicated with others, so she was sometimes passive in communication. Time unknowingly came to the evening, and it was time for Manfish to leave. Well, it's time. See you next time. By the way, I'll leave this for you. Manfish took off a Dendenmushi with his private number on it. This is Dendenmushi. Remember to call me if you miss me. As if afraid that the other party would refuse, he pushed the door and left here. Goodbye. I'm going to sail. Stupid. Rusalka did not throw away the Dendenmushi, but seemed to complain about Manfish's behavior. Hey, brother Manfish. After leaving Fishman Island, Pearman saw that Manfish was still in a daze, and shouted directly into his ear. What? I can hear it. Rubbing his ears, Manderfresh looked at his younger brother, not knowing what he was going to do. Brother, what if you use this appearance to date a merman and it really happens? There will always be a time when you can use up your ability. Chapter 347, The Growth of the Beast Kindergarten. Big Sister has maintained her ability for several years. As long as she is strong enough, this is not a problem at all. Brother Manderfish, you know what I mean. Seeing that Manderfish was pretending to be stupid, Pearman directly made his meaning clear. He wanted to see his big brother live a happy life, but if this lie was exposed, the result would not be very good. Let's talk about it later. It's a bit hard to let go, but with Whitebeard's flag, it should be safer here. Manderfish also knew what he meant, but he didn't know what the consequences would be if he revealed his identity now. After all, a large part of the residents of Fishman Island were afraid of humans and kept their distance from them. In Manderfish's view, Whitebeard's flag was a good thing. At least it meant that Fishman Island and humans had more connections. Then Manderfish stopped answering this topic. This was Manderfish's personal question, and he was Pearman's direct superior, so he had no reason to ask further. While Manderfish was still floating up, Shaina had already returned to Onigashima. Emmeline, you lead the team. I'll go back first. Don't worry, big sister. We're already here. There can't be any other problems. This is already a special current area in Wano country. Several islands around it have become the territory of all beasts. Wano country, as the main base, is already the hinterland of the hinterland. Conventional means cannot bypass the outer guards to get here. This is also the reason why Shaina left the ship with confidence. With a flap of her wings, she flew towards Wano country. According to convention, she would return to Wano country in advance to report some situations. Emmeline raised her head only after Shaina left here. These female carters obeyed Shaina from the bottom of their hearts. Due to the difference in physiological structure, it is easier for men to exercise to be strong. Except for Charlotte Linling's natural monster physique, the top strongmen on the sea are almost all men. Unlike Alga's illusion, which often takes shortcuts in battle, Shaina is purely a fist-to-flesh hand-to-flesh fight. Among the current female strongmen, she is almost only weaker than Charlotte Linling. The supremacy of the strong is the unchanging concept within the beasts. The framework established by Arceus limits this from collapsing, but the core is still determined by strength. Although Yamato now enjoys a high status, if she cannot show the potential that matches it, Kaido will never treat her as his daughter, and will only let her fight below. This kind of worship of strength is naturally born in this environment. Isuka, do you remember what I said to you? After entering the sea current of Wano country, the people on the boat began to retract the sails and steer the rudder. Even if these helmsmen are very experienced, they still have to be careful in this sea area. And Emmeline was telling Asuka what to pay attention to. Have great respect for the holy beasts, yes, remember this, as long as you don't make mistakes on this point, and don't go to places you shouldn't go, the big sister won't be too angry, but if you break this rule, you're done. Emmeline didn't intimidate her, but stated the objective facts. You've seen the posters in the big sister's room. Remember to pay attention to it when the time comes. Got it? On Onigashima, Shaina landed on the roof. Since most of the Kadas have the ability to fly, the roof of Onigashima often serves as a helipad. After tidying up her appearance, Shaina entered Onigashima's room. Master Holy Beast, I'm back. I'm very sorry. I didn't find anything. Nothing. The more slates you find, the harder it is to find the rest. This is also expected. Yamato has been waiting for you to come back anxiously. Miss Yamato. Waiting for me to come back? Yes, after all, she can change teachers when you come back. She complains about Kaido's training every day. Didn't you come down from the roof? Didn't you see them? No, Mr. Kaido and Miss Yamato are not there. Shaina was wondering why they were not where Arceus said, but she saw something from the corner of her eye from the window. The coast outside Onigashima seemed to be on fire. When she turned her head to look over, the location of Yamato and Kaido was very obvious. Got it? Got it. She used to think she was a bit strict, but compared to Kaido, her behavior was simply too gentle. By the way, Lord Saint Beast, Emmeline picked up a child this time. No need to report such a small matter. Picking up a child is no stranger to the beasts. Not to mention the Kadas. Ordinary people may bring back a few orphans. There are already orphanages for the beasts on the islands outside. However, this orphanage is not pure. The beasts pirates are not a charity. Although they take care of the orphans caused by various accidents, they also have their own purposes. The children who grow up there are basically reserve soldiers for the beasts. Those with poor physique will be assigned to companies such as Beast's Fruit. This child is quite special. His talent is not particularly outstanding, but he is very perseverant. On the way back, she conducted some tests on Asuka. That was a training intensity that a child of this age could not bear, but she gritted her teeth and persisted until she fainted and did not give up. Maybe she is not talented enough, but she has enough state of mind. She's just a little naive. Maybe Miss Yamato can get along with her. She was referring to Asuka's so-called ideal. The kind of words that are not for herself, but to save others from suffering, made Shaina feel extremely naive when they came from a child's mouth. How old is she? A little over 5 years old. She still has some plasticity. Then take her to play with Yamato. She should have more normal people around her. It's not that there are problems with the people around her, but the people of the same age around Yamato now. Jack is often silly, Robin is precocious and black-bellied, Mariah doesn't have any other problems, but because of her status, she has a kind of obedience to Yamato. Such an outsider child can make her have more ordinary friends around her. And in this way, Yamato is not the youngest, and can cultivate more sense of responsibility. Yes, I understand. After Shaina reported everything almost, her ship also entered the submerged port. The ship slowly moved up under the drag of gears and chains. When the sun shone on the deck again, Asuka entered the territory of Wano country for the first time. The ship returned to the port, and the crew also boarded the inland boat to return to their homes. Asuka, be prepared. Many things here are strange. Strange? Before she could understand the word, a giant dragon spewing fire at the inland sea appeared in her eyes, and at the same time she seemed to hear a cry for help. Well, the increase in monthly tickets this time is the most I have ever seen. But I'm powerless to add more chapters in September. Starting in October, well, wait for October. Chapter 348 The Horrible Daily Life of Ghost Island. Then that's a dragon? Kaido in dragon form was floating in the sky holding a flame cloud, his huge figure hidden in the clouds. Although the pirates of the beasts pirates and the citizens of Wano country were already used to it, it was the first time for Asuka to see such a huge creature. A rough comparison showed that she was not as big as the scales on the monster. Well, that's Governor Kaido, the captain of the beasts pirates, and one of your future bosses. There is no such thing as quitting in this business. Once you enter Wano country, there is no turning back. Shaina had emphasized this point many times on the way back. She was mentally prepared for it, but it seemed that she was not prepared enough at the moment. It's just a superpower. Governor Kaido is just a little bigger. He has many other powers. There's nothing strange about it. Emmeline thought Asuka was shocked by Kaido's beast form, but in fact it was not the case. After all, Shaina had been showing the posture of a superpower all the way, and she also had a general understanding of superpowers from the pirates. What shocked her was the people swimming in the water, or rather, the people running for their lives. Because of the fire in Doro, she had already had some aversion to fire, and now looking at the two splashes in the sea, it was inevitable that she had some other emotions. Did they do anything wrong? Let me see, it's Miss Yamato. No, that's the governor's daughter, and this is just the governor's training for the lady. Emmeline mentioned the word training lightly, combining education with entertainment, but as everyone knows, Kaido's education and entertainment is for himself, and he certainly won't miss the opportunity to exercise his physical fitness in all aspects through swimming. Daughter. Yes, biological, but Asuka, I should tell you some bad news. What? Although the big sister keeps talking about you, she should be very satisfied with you in her heart. If nothing unexpected happens, you may train with the big sister. Pearman knows Mandafesh and even knows a little about his personal feelings. Emmeline is also very familiar with Shaina. Apart from the true face under the mask, Shaina did not hide most things from her, including some living habits. So she has a certain guess about Shaina's plan. Listening to Emmeline's words, Asuka was a little dazed. The light of the flames and the faint screams in her ears made her doubt her life a little. At this time, she was not the only one who doubted her life, but also Mariah on the shore. She was now extremely grateful that her ability could not go into the water, otherwise she would have to be one of them to escape in the water. But according to Kaido's habits, he would never favor one over the other. Since Yamato and Jack were training hard in this mode, there must be a test of the same hellish difficulty waiting for him. Unknown horrors are often more terrifying, and some people in the water are more complicated than her heart, such as Jack. Mermaids are the fastest swimmers among all creatures. Although fishmen are not as fast as mermaids, they are also among the best in the sea. But at this moment Jack found that he could not catch up with Yamato. Kaido's order did not allow them to dive, which made the biggest advantage of fishmen gone, and Jack's development direction of defensive warfare made him not fast. And fishmen have another advantage. Their pupil structure is different from that of humans. When they are in the water, they can produce a thin membrane, which prevents their pupils from being stimulated by water splashes. So he can see the group of water splashing in front of him, and Yamato in the freestyle state is swimming rapidly towards the destination. As a fisherman, he lost 2 other races in freestyle, but after thinking about this being Kaido's daughter, everything seems to make sense again. Then a line of fire almost brushed his butt. Faster. You are swimming faster than the warships. How can you do this? I'm going to sue my godfather. That's not what I said at the beginning. You still have the energy to talk back. That shows you still have potential, Yamato. Swim faster. Their initial training goal was just to swim around Onigashima a few times, but Kaido thought it was too easy for them to swim like that, so he slightly increased the difficulty for them. If they dived, they could indeed avoid Kaido's flames, but they didn't do that, because if they dived, Kaido would switch to wind blades and lightning. Compared to those things, the controlled power of flames has become the most gentle attack. When Yamato and Jack got back on track, Mariah also welcomed her rock climbing project. For her with the spider fruit, rock climbing is not complicated, but it also consumes physical strength, and can also exercise the use of the fruit's ability. After a day of training, the 3 of them lay on the ground wet. Although Mariah did not go into the water, her clothes were still wet with sweat. This was also their daily routine. For Kaido, it was a very gentle act if the training level did not reach the point of fainting. After their training was over, Kaido also turned into a human form and came here again. It's not enough, Yamato. Do you still want to go out to sea by yourself? What are you talking about, father? I must go out to sea by myself. It's a pity that I can't go to see this vast ocean by myself. Kaido did not get angry when he heard that Yamato was going to go out to sea. At this time, she did not shout that she was Kazuki Oden, and the control of the beasts over Wano country became deeper. Even if Kaido did not stay here, the beasts had enough force to sit in Wano country, and the base camp was unusually stable. In this case, he naturally did not need to let Yamato live a lifelike detention, but he still sneered at Yamato's words. It's too far away. You can't go out to sea alone. The enemies on the sea won't stop when you faint. Don't dream until you are strong enough. Your godfather will never let you go. Going out to sea under the care of others and going out to sea alone represent completely different meanings. This is also one of Yamato's goals. I will defeat you sooner or later. If you can do it, just try it. But in order to help you achieve this goal as soon as possible, you'd better practice more by yourself tomorrow. Training with Jack and Mariah all the time has become a burden for Yamato. The upper limit she can bear is much more than these two people. This is your own choice. There is no chance to take back what you say. By the way, your godfather's news. You have a new partner. Chapter 349. Sweet Bamboo Juice, the Majesty of Jelly Egg. A new partner? Great. Finally a new person is here. There haven't been any new kids on Onigashima for a while, but it's not like there aren't any at all. But Kaido obviously treats these kids differently. Those kids grew up on the outer islands or the mainland of Wano country, and their training was also ordinary. Only those who he recognized as being able to withstand the training could go to Onigashima and experience that hellish special life with Yamato. Although he trained a lot of people, not all of them were worthy of his personal training. Strictly speaking, Asuka wasn't very qualified, but Shaina recognized her perseverance. Mr. Kaido, is it a boy this time? Jack, who was also lying in a corpse state, asked this question. It's not good to stop directly after strenuous exercise, so Kaido kindly let them swim an extra lap slowly. This lap further consumed their physical strength, causing Jack to almost sink to the bottom. Jack had a reason for this. Now his circle is full of girls, even Frosty Milk Fairy and Jigglypuff are female. As the only male, he felt what it meant to be treated differently. He needs a younger brother to share this pain with him, but Kaido's answer is destined to disappoint him. No, it's a little girl. Is that so? Jack suddenly felt that it would be okay to go out to sea early, and he could pick up a child by then. The next step was a familiar process. He cleaned himself in the bathroom and then went to the big cafeteria of Onigashima to eat. Although the small stove existed, they could still be seen in the cafeteria of Onigashima most of the time. A large number of external chefs showed their cooking skills here. Large pieces of sea beast meat were roasted into golden and red pieces and served on the table. Expensive wagyu from the outside world was also common here. It's not that there are no chefs in Wano country, but they are assigned to be responsible for appetizers and cold dishes. If they are responsible for staple foods, not only will the chefs be exhausted, but these pirates will also starve to death. It took humans a long time to reach the top of the food chain with the help of technology. Letting these pirates eat grass every day will definitely drive them crazy, but there are also some vegetarians among the beasts. These people can maintain their energy consumption thanks to the treasures made by tree fruits. After some improvements, the taste of those tree fruit puffin has become more suitable for humans and can also provide a lot of nutrients. However, there is a unique device on the food counter, similar to a small swimming pool. The spring water produced in Wano country is sent into it by the water diversion device, and there are several moving mangosteens in it. Green leaf cap, red upper and white lower body, mangosteen-like appearance, the bottom of the food chain in the Alola region, the fruit Pokemon sweet bamboo. The fragrance they emit is an irresistible bait for all birds. Their own weakness causes many bad Pokemon to be attracted to it and feed on it. After it appears, it is also a Pokemon that is prohibited from entering the Totland area. In the Pokemon world, humans have eaten sweet bamboo, but the sweetness is too sweet for humans, and the sweat of sweet bamboo is mixed with water to make mangosteen juice with a very appropriate proportion. Most people choose to soak sweet bamboo in water, which is almost an inexhaustible raw material. But the sweet lovers and the big mom pirates rarely care whether the food is too sweet, and given Charlotte Lin's personality, she will most likely eat the sweet bamboo shoots raw. So they have also become a species restricted from leaving the country, but the sweat of the sweet bamboo shoots has become a new product of the beast fruit. The slogan calls it an absolutely healthy concentrated juice, and you can get an extremely sweet juice with just one drop. The vacuum-packed sweat of the sweet bamboo shoots after sterilization is very easy to store and transport. Nowadays, hotels around the world, especially high-end buffet restaurants, love this product very much. Sweet bamboo shoots, the water temperature is just right. Do you like this temperature? Sweet bamboo shoots. Yamato is communicating with the sweet bamboo shoots in a friendly and cordial manner. This is a piece of cake for her. The beverage table of the sweet bamboo shoots is similar to a microscopic indoor swimming pool. In addition to the swimming pool as a juice pool, there are also things like diving platforms. After receiving half a cup of sweet bamboo shoot juice, Yamato also started her own operation. The corners of her mouth began to rise, and her teeth became sharp. At this time, she entered the human beast form. Then a chill emanated from her hands, and ice crystals began to appear on the juice. With the stirring of chopsticks, a cup of homemade smoothie appeared. If the ability users of the mythical beasts are proficient enough in their abilities, they can control the power of that part of the mythical beasts even without entering the transformed state. But Yamato's current training is not enough. If you want to make smoothies delicately, you have to enter this form. Then she waved to the cream fairy who was waiting for them in the restaurant, and filled the remaining part of the cup with cream. Do you want smoothies? Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Jack and Mariah did not refuse this. There is no habit of drinking hot water in Wano country, and they don't have it either. Drinking more hot water is not applicable here. Moreover, the modified version of the big mouth of the real god made Yamato extremely resistant to cold. Eating some ice is nothing to her. Mariah held the cup with her hand, while Jack handed over the plate with his nose. As a user of the King Bronze Elephant ability, his trunk is his third arm, so the most basic requirement for his fruit ability is to be able to use his trunk flexibly. In life outside of training, he is required to use his trunk as much as possible. This is the case when writing and eating, which is why there is a fork on his plate. It is really embarrassing for an elephant to use his trunk to manipulate chopsticks. Soon, the juices of both of them turned into smoothies, but when they sat down, Yamato suddenly had a plate of broccoli and green peppers in front of him. Lucky. 4 Jigglypuffs suddenly appeared on the chairs next to them, and their short round hands pointed at the vegetables in front of them. Even without the power of Changbin, Mariah and Jack could understand what Jigglypuff meant. No picky eating. Jigglypuff's eyes swept through the fried and grilled food on the table. In addition to the mountain of meat, the only vegetables here were probably the lettuce and tomato in the hamburger, which was absolutely unacceptable to their 4 nannies. Although these children have grown up, Jigglypuff, who raised them, still has the majesty of their own nanny. After a bowl of vegetables was thrown onto the table, the Jigglypuffs pulled out a child from behind. Emmeline brought her here and handed her over to the Jigglypuffs. Even though Isuka was mentally prepared, he was still shocked when he saw the Jigglypuffs. Chapter 350, The Future of Beasts, The Development of Tesoro. After all, it was a walking egg. Even though she had seen the wind fairy that accidentally floated over and Kaido that spewed fire in the sky, she hesitated for a while when facing a Pokemon like Chansey. In the end, Chansey dragged her over. Lucky, I know. I will get along well with her and eat all those things. Although Yamato said this, Chansey didn't seem to believe it. Instead, he separated some of the vegetables and placed them in front of her, as if he would not leave unless she ate them. Under the gaze of the 4 Chansey, she directly raised the bowl and poured all the green vegetables into her mouth. In the end, she swallowed them without chewing. After confirming that she really ate the vegetables, Chansey left here with peace of mind. I hate green peppers. Why do such foods exist? It's okay. The sweet taste is not bad. It's obviously bitter. How can you taste sweet? Listening to Mariah's description of the taste of green peppers, Yamato was very confused. She didn't understand why Mariah could taste sweetness, but she still looked at Isuka, who was brought by Jigglypuff. Hello, my name is Yamato, she is Mariah, and he is Jack. Yamato was the first to extend his hand to Asuka. After Asuka introduced herself, Mariah even started to touch her head. She began to grow taller and liked children more. The maternal gene seemed to have awakened in advance. While Yamato and the others were in contact with Asuka, Quinn received a new mission from Arceus. How is it? Can it be done? It should be possible, but Lord Arceus, please tell me your requirements again. Looking at the simple sketch in front of him, Quinn thought for a long time and finally told Arceus his opinion. The reason was that he really couldn't understand the sketch. If he designed it according to this sketch, there would be a high probability that something would go wrong. But experience and lessons told him that he must not say that the picture was wrong, otherwise he would be in trouble. Haven't the modified artillery in your body been replaced with a feeder? That's right. Your power is indeed useful, much more useful than the built-in ammunition compartment. According to the release principle of the energy ball, set up an energy cannon that is stimulated by this energy and place it on the top of the robot's head. This time the description is clear enough, right? I understand. Although it is a bit difficult, there is no problem in developing it. However, Lord Arceus, how do you plan to operate this so-called robot? Don't worry about it. Just make something similar. Quinn's technology is still somewhat credible. Not to mention the weird human body transformation. The transformation potion Mariah took is proof of the technology. And according to the weapons Mariah used in the original time, it can be seen that Quinn also has a way to make inanimate objects eat devil fruits. It is always good to whip him more. And what Arceus asked him to make is the prototype of a special war weapon made for future wars. It belongs to the pacifist of the beast's genosect, but this is just a draft. Quinn, who left here, looked at the new schedule on the schedule and had to postpone his banana cultivation plan. They had no choice but to ask the boss. When the world government incorporated MADS, he and Judge were not as important as Vegapunk, and they chose to escape. In Quinn's current situation, even if he did not go out, his bounty might skyrocket. He really needed the banner of the beasts to be more solid, so he was very serious about these tasks. In front of Mariah, whose maternal thoughts began to sprout, and Yamato, who was very familiar with her, Asuka quickly integrated into the team, but her training had not yet begun. Now she was just watching the show with Robin. Before that, she lived as an ordinary person. In that state, she could not adapt to this high-intensity training at all. Improving her physical fitness was the first step, and time unknowingly came to the end of October. At this time, the Beast's pirates occupied the northern area of the area, Didickel Island, and Tesoro returned to his home. It has been almost 2 years since he met Yamato in Champadi, and in these 2 years he has demonstrated his value and talent. At this time, he has risen from a store manager to the general manager of the northern region. After having a suitable stage, Tesoro has shown his business talent. Whether it is interpersonal relationships or business negotiations, he has become more and more proficient in using them after a period of study. Tesoro in the original timeline was able to start from scratch as an escaped slave and become an economic tycoon who controls 20% of the world's Bailey, although there was a reason for his collapse due to Stella's death. But now he has a new motivation to give Stella a better future. The two of them live a very happy life, but because Tesoro is busy with his career and Stella has begun to develop into a star industry, they have no plans to have children now. For a better tomorrow, he can be said to be working hard. With the huge base of the 100 Beasts fruit and the 100 Beasts pirates as the backing of the pirate world, Tesoro's development is much smoother than his original timeline. As long as Bailey is fed, the big ghosts above will not cause trouble. The really difficult ones are the little ghosts, but the Beasts pirates specialize in dealing with such little ghosts. If someone does not give face and comes to make trouble, they can go to work at the Beasts mining company, but the Beasts pirates do not have this company, so the position is to be caught and work in mining. As a regional manager with a code name, Tesoro has a high status in the Beasts fruit. Now the business in the Beasts fruit is a bit complicated. He has written a report suggesting that the Beast's fruit be split and reorganized to further clarify the responsibilities of departments so as to better deal with various aspects of business. After adjusting his suit and holding a rose in the corner of his mouth, Tesoro opened his door in a posture that he thought was handsome. Even after 2 years, he still maintained this romance. Stella, I'm back. How's your luggage? We have to leave tonight. Everything is packed, and the gift is ready, but is this really appropriate? It should be appropriate. I've never given a gift to a little girl, and Miss Yamato is different from ordinary people. As an important member of the beast fruit, and a person accepted by Yamato himself, Tesoro is qualified to attend Yamato's birthday party. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.